this is Marlene with Miami Ghost Chronicles, and I want to welcome you to another episode of Stories of the Supernatural. Wherever you find us, whether it's a video or podcast on your favorite platform, please like and subscribe to us so that you can get notification of when a new show is released. You can also find us on major social media platforms. If you go to miamighostchronicles.com, you can find links to the videos or MP3 files, which you can download and enjoy without commercial interruptions. If you're into classic horror, ghost, and adventure stories, I narrate Nightshade Diary, and you can find links at nightshadediary.com. If scary stories are your bag, and listening to encounters with cryptids, ghosts, dogmen, and other weird creatures sends a shiver up your spine, then go to supernaturalstorytime.com for links to our weekly podcasts. Noteworthy news about the paranormal world, true crime, conspiracy stories, and anything that is just plain weird can be found at eerie.news or visit the Stranger Than Fiction Stories tab at miamighostchronicles.com. Please subscribe to my newsletter on Substack. Just go to mppellicer.com for a link. I want to thank you for being part of my audience, and I think you are all wonderful.
How about now?
Oh yeah, that's much better.
Okay. All right. I think I have a feeling what it was, but uh, it's it's thank God after a while you kind of learn all these different like something works one week and then you try it the next week and it's like for some reason it just doesn't want to cooperate. And such is life. We're at the mercy of the machines. What can I say?
Yeah, you sound good now.
All right. Yeah, I'm going to. Don't worry. I'll clip out this part so that's it's not a big deal. All right, you guys. So anyway, Ronnie. Shh, be quiet, you guys. Hold on. Like I tell all my audience knows that this is my enforcer. Hey, be
They
quiet.
want to be in on
Yes.
the show.
That kind of show it's got water in it. And they kind of look at it, they're like, "Oh no, she's got the enforcer." Yeah. Usually my dogs they like hang out and they're real quiet, but every once in a while one of them just for
Wow.
some weird reason decides that they need to bark. Then everybody else like, "Hell, we need to bark too." So, yeah, that kind of deal. But anyway, Ronnie, let's get back because like I said, I read your bio and when did this start happening for you? Did you have childhood experiences? Was it something that happened into an adulthood? How did this start for you?
No, it was really weird. I always believe that there's life out there in the universe somewhere. You have to. It's like, but maybe a
Hmm.
sloth in a giant swamp somewhere. I'm not
Right.
so sure about intelligent life, but there has to be life out there. But I just never had seen any of it. And so I was, yeah, it's out there somewhere, but they just can't get here. We're too far apart. And about 2009, we started seeing some weird lights out in the oil field and stuff, and it was like, what in the heck is that? And it's stuff I've been working outdoors my whole life. I
Hmm.
could explain, and I've seen everything that you could possibly see out there, meteor showers and every satellites and plane watching. So I know what's supposed to be up there. And in 2009, I started seeing stuff I just couldn't explain out in the middle of nowhere over the trees. And I mean, I fly drones, man. You wouldn't catch me flying one of my drones out there. Yeah, you'd lose it in the woods. And
Right. And I'm glad
and
you pointed that out that you had experience being outdoors
oh
and
yeah,
knew what when you saw something what it was.
yeah. You look at Travis Walton, Calvin Parker, and it
Hmm.
seems like the people who are having contact are people who work outdoors a lot.
Sure, of
So
course.
it's like they're not abducting people from the Harvard school parking lot. So they,
No,
they don't seem
no.
like they're after the brightest of us. I'm just
Or
knowing.
they're opportunistic, if it's like, okay, who can we pick up quick?
I'm just an old
Um,
truck driver. I'm just an old
that's
truck
that.
driver. Yeah. Yeah.
It's yeah, you'll hear people, usually a lot of people, even people that live in urban settings, when there's some type of abduction, it's usually they're traveling or they're going through some area where
Right.
less populated
Yeah.
and they get picked up or
But
they have that missing time kind of experience.
yeah. But if you've been out there, I've been working in the oil field for 30 years. I know what I should be seeing out there and what I shouldn't be seeing out there. And I started seeing some stuff out there about 2009. It just meant there wasn't any way to explain it. It wasn't meteors. It wasn't anything from outer space. It was lights coming on, lights going off. Airplanes go by, airplanes come low, and helicopters, military helicopters, you can hear them from 5 miles away. They're very
Right.
noisy things, so
Yes.
these are lights just coming on and going off, and sometimes they're coming on and they're sequencing. So whatever it is not small; it's very large, and just it'll come on, be very bright, it'll sequence, and then it would just completely go out. And just no explaining what the heck that
Did
is,
you
and
ever
everybody.
notice any type of pattern? Was it like certain days or like once every
Oh
month?
yeah, it was like it seems to have a counterclockwise rotation, and every one of them that I noticed, it was like the lights come on. It's like the one in the back goes out of view, the one in the front comes into view. So it's like something that has a counterclockwise rotation, and it's and the lights are not like lights that like spotlights that shine,
Mm-hmm.
from a light source. This is like an illumination from inside the craft that's beaming through like a vent hole or something.
Okay.
And so it's not a true light, that as we know lights. It's like illumination shining from inside something, and it has a circular rotation to it because the one in the back will go out and the one in the front will rotate into view, and it almost looks like it's sequencing. But I've seen it enough to notice that it's a rotation. It's a counterclockwise rotation, and probably something round.
Ronnie, did you ever, I mean, I don't know how far away you were sighting this, but were you ever able to go out to the area on the ground where you estimated these lights were over to see if there was any type of markings on the ground?
Well, I mean, uh, I didn't really see them on the ground. Usually, they were hovering at night
Right.
in the dark. But I took note of where I saw them at,
Uh-huh.
and I went back in the daylight to see exactly what the heck they were over. And
Yes.
one was over an oil well that set out in the middle of a field. The other one I saw was over a rural water tower that was sitting on a hill.
How interesting.
And yeah, so it's like I started taking note. When I go out in the daylight, I say, okay, this is where I see it. Let's see what's out there in the daylight.
Mm-hmm.
And
Right.
just
Like that's where I was going with it. Either that or I mean, I've heard people sometimes that they'll go like into the approximate area they think where this thing was hovering over kind of, and either if they find scorched earth or they'll find burn marks like something, it's like in other words, it emits something that doesn't agree with
yeah,
vegetation. How's that?
yeah. I mean, I've seen a couple on the ground, but I never did get to go out because it was on private property and it was at night
Mm-hmm.
and I was at work. And
Right.
so
Like yeah, it's like
I didn't get to go out there and do any investigating, but I've seen two that were on the ground. I would have loved to go out there and see what if there was anything to find. But uh, yeah, it's a weird deal, man. I mean, the lights come on, the lights go off, and I mean, and you have to be really quick. I've been trying to catch it on video camera, but it's such a short. By the time you get your camera up and running and pointed, most of the time it goes out.
right.
It's
Exactly.
very
It's one of those
frustrating.
things that yeah,
Very
it's not an
frustrating.
announcement like hey, at a certain day at a
It's
certain.
like, oh, and I got pretty quick draw with my phone, man, where I could get it up
Did
and
you
running
ever
pretty
get into
quick.
the? Did you ever see them come towards you or like they're coming like over here?
Well, it seemed like they were observing me from a distance, but
Uh
I know
huh.
I noticed I sat there at one point. I was like, I'm gonna pretend like I don't see it, and I was opening the gate to go in on oil lease, and this UFO was about 200 yards away, hovering over this field, and it had and the lights came on, and it had a counterclockwise rotation. I was like, I'm just gonna pretend I don't see it. I went out and opened the gate. And I went back to my truck like I was going to get in my truck and drive it to the gate. And I had my phone on the dash. And I grabbed my phone and I jumped down the ground. And I pointed my phone at that thing. And before I could get it up and running, this thing tilted and then just blinked out.
Right. Exactly. It's like
And I was like, oh, man. So, but that let me know that not only I'm watching them, but they're watching back. So
yes.
they see me grab that electronic device and aim it towards the craft. And they decided it's time to bug out. And
Did you ever see anything like? Was it at nighttime or in the daytime or both when you were having these sightings?
most of the time, it was at nighttime when I was at work.
Mm-hmm.
One late afternoon, I did see a large a black craft that was hovering over. It was a rural home that was on private property, like a vacation home or something. And at first, it was really black and hazy, and you couldn't see it real clear. And I thought the place might have been on fire. And I thought,
Oh.
man, something's on fire over there. Man, I might need to call the fire department. There's normally nobody living in that house. And so I decided I'd get a little bit closer and take a better look. And when I got a little bit closer, I could see that it was just a big black hazy craft hovering over the house, and it started moving away from the house, and four big white lights came on in the black, and I'm like, okay, that is not smoke. One thing smoke
Uh-huh.
does not do is have lights come on in the middle of it. So these
Right.
lights came on, and this thing started drifting away, and I'm following this thing in my truck coming out of this private property, and I'm thinking, man, I'm in a loaded, flammable, hazardous material truck, and I'm chasing a UFO in my truck in the late afternoon. It's not even dark yet, and I'm following this thing, and I've got a camera up, and I'm trying to and this camera opens up, and I'm getting ready to take a picture of it, and then the display screen never lights up, it never comes on, and
Uh-huh.
I don't know what happened to that. That camera just quit working. I mean,
I've heard of
it
that
never
happening.
worked again. It never worked again, and it
Really?
was working fine. It had new batteries in it, and the lens extended like it was supposed to, but the display screen never come on, and that camera was just fried. I mean, the
Yes,
display
that's what it sounds like.
you couldn't make you couldn't make it the lens retract or anything. You change the batteries out, nothing. You try to plug it in to the computer, nothing. It was like it just
That's
completely
it.
fried that
Done
thing,
deal.
man.
Yeah, so that,
Man,
that 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 like in other words, they even for lack of a better word, they have ways to like screw with
so
electronics, so it's like, yeah,
so I'm
they're
sitting
not
there. Yeah, I'm watching this thing, and it just it goes from being a black craft hovering in the sky, maybe 200 or 300 feet off the ground, moving slowly in the late afternoon in the sunlight, and then it just it disperses. I mean, it just goes from where you can see it to where you can't see it. It's just like it evaporates. It
right,
doesn't
like
even,
the
and I'm thinking, yeah, maybe the stealth. They had some stealth that wasn't working, or they turned their stealth on, or something, and it just went translucent. I mean, I could see it. I
right.
could see it, and then all of a sudden it went translucent, and I had a
Like some
feeling it
type
was.
of cloaking
Yeah,
mechanism or something.
it's like it's still there. It's probably still
Uh-huh.
right there because it didn't shoot off. And I'm thinking, well, all it did was turn translucent. And I'm like, they probably just turned their cloaking device on, and I just can't
Right.
see it no more. It's probably still right there.
Yeah.
You know.
You know what? And for all we know, sometimes you see Hollywood and sometimes Hollywood, maybe certain things they have to decloak, like they can't run
Yeah,
cloak and do something, and that's why they're forced to, take their
yeah.
cloaking off.
But
Um,
it was
how
kind of
about
a
cattle
progressive.
mutilations? Have you come across any out there like that?
Yeah, I actually saw a cattle abduction. I was yeah,
Are you serious?
that was one of the first things I seen was like I had seen the lights, but I hadn't seen anything really weird yet, and I
Uh-huh.
suspected it might be some kind of UFO craft or UFO drones or something like that. But then I seen a large. There was a large array of lights, and three broke off. It traveled across the highway to a field off to my left, and I was cruising down this highway, looking out of my truck window at this thing, and the craft got lower in altitude, and it looked like it got to maybe 100 feet up in the air, and I noticed there was something walking around on the field out there that had this yellowish bright green light glowing around it, and it was a humanoid looking thing walking around out there, and it had a huge head. I could tell it had a huge head from where I was at. I was probably a quarter mile away from it,
Okay.
and this thing had, you could tell its head was way too big for its body. It had a very small body, huge head, yellow green lights glowing all around it, and I'm going, oh my God, look at that. That is like a dadgum alien looking damn bobblehead doll walking around out there. And
That
then there
must
was
have been a sight.
and then there was a blue beam that was shooting out of the craft that was 100 feet up in the air. And it wasn't a bright blue beam. It was a dark beam shooting down to the ground, but you could see it. You could see it from where I was at. And then all of a sudden, inside the blue beam, there was something darker blue that was rising. And whatever it was about 30 feet off the ground and still rising. And I thought, what is that? Is that smoke in the beam? Or what is going, something in the beam is being lifted up towards the craft. And I was looking at it, trying to focus on it, and then the thing had a little rotation to it or something, and it rotated into view, and it was a cow, and it was about 30 feet in the air, and it was slowly rising up, and the cow was whipping its head from side to side like it wasn't enjoying the ride.
Right.
And I was going, oh crap, man, that's a cow being lifted, and there's an alien walking around the ground. There's a cow being lifted. And, you put two and two together, you're thinking, oh crap, that's a UFO, man.
Yeah, because usually, these cattle, the cattle, you find them after the fact, like, when you get the
Yeah,
mutilated remains.
I have no idea what about. All I know is it was time for me to get the hell out of there, and I was
You're
like,
like, man, what if I'm next?
they could have a truck driver too, and a cow and a truck driver. And I was like, I was really thinking about pulling over and just watching this whole thing. And then when I see
And
the
you're
cow
thinking,
being
man, what if
lifted,
they
I'm
started
going,
with a
oh
cow, but
shit,
then they notice me and they'll go, hey, a human.
yeah, yeah, let's get that human while we're at it. And I'm like, no, no. And in fact, I kept driving. And I was like, oh, I've seen enough. It's time to get the heck out of here. And I
Well, you
kept
know what?
looking.
Have you heard lately that out in Texas, I think it was along the, can't remember exactly what the highway is, but I think it was the old Spanish Trail. But it's an area that goes to a couple of counties. They found a bunch of mutilated cattle.
Oh yeah,
You know,
yeah.
um, and
I have no idea what happened to the cow. I don't know if it got killed, it got put back, or it simply disappeared. It
but
was.
well, let's go on the assumption that unfortunately maybe they did something. I mean, it's like, what else would you take an entire cow? It's and that's the thing. I was reading one time that they're saying all these things that usually are taken from all these cattle mutilations. They say these are the least. This is the parts of the cow that nobody wants. You know,
Oh, really?
the udders, the tongue.
Yeah,
All these
yeah,
things that are taken are normally the of the entire cow are the least valuable. They don't have any use.
yeah,
But these are the things that are taken. So it's like that's very unusual.
yeah,
And I know in some that I think that they had found in Wyoming, I want to say, they took like tissue samples and they said they did the cattle didn't have any diseases like as
yeah,
an illness. They did have some type of drugs equivalent to barbiturates, which is like that's weird.
yeah,
And the same thing, where they describe like predators don't eat the carcasses. Like
right.
basically the carcasses just deteriorate and decay
Yeah, yeah,
by themselves
yeah,
because nothing, not even coyotes, nothing comes close to them, that's very weird.
yeah. Well, I can't mention no names, but I've got a buddy that says that he met this weird kid and back in high school and stuff, and he helped tutor him and stuff, and helped him
Hmm.
graduate school, and the guy was really, I mean, just a genius, smart. And then every time he would take a test, he would just fail it miserably. And he was like,
Okay.
"Why in the world are you failing when you're the smartest guy in the class, and you've got the lowest grade in the class?" And he finally told him. He said, I know you probably won't believe me. He said, but he said his father's human and his mother is an alien.
Oh
And
crap.
he's like, yeah, we knew he knew this guy was kind of weird,
I mean, but I don't think he
and
expected that answer.
well, he said, I guess you need proof, huh? He said, yeah, I guess you need proof, huh? And they were at this lake out here in Texas. It was a little lake out in the middle of nowhere, and he said, well, look out there. He looked out there, and he said about 50 yards from him out in the lake, there was a silver UFO disc appeared over the water, and he said, well, what do you think about that? And then he looked back at it again. It was gone. He said, what in the heck is that? He said, that's mine. He said, that's my UFO. And he said, look, and he made it appear again a second time. And he looked, and there it was again. He said, that's mine. He said, that's what I use for transportation. And he said, it's my job to sit here and observe you guys. And he said his mother was alien, his father was human, and he told him, he said, he goes to the he said they got a base hit on the other side of Jupiter, and ever so often he goes and reports and turns in his information and stuff. And he said, and on the other side of Jupiter, out of our view most of the time,
Hmm.
he said it's came into view a few times, and nobody, if somebody would have been looking, they could have seen it. And they said nobody has seen them, even though it is visible from time to time. And he said on that thing they have trees, they have hills, they have grass, and they have living cattle roaming the hills inside their base.
So basically, what he's saying is we're abducting these cattle because we're populating our herd.
Yeah, they may be doing something with they have their own
Oh
herd,
well, no,
like
I
he
mean,
said. Yeah,
why not? I never thought of
yeah,
that.
yeah. So
It's because
he
after a while,
said,
you're thinking, okay, how many cattle do you need to mutilate or examine or
yeah,
whatever it
yeah.
is?
So yeah, and
Let
they've
me.
been making a
Didn't
bunch.
your friend say, like, I mean, would let's go with the premise. Like, it's like, okay, so what
Well,
are you
we
adopted or what did they do with your
yeah,
mom?
the guy still he's still living here. He lives in a small town. He works amongst us, and he keeps a very low profile. Has never been married, and
That's weird.
doesn't seem to have really any interest in women. And he's just a real kind of a nerdy guy.
You
And
know what? Because there's nerds, and
we
that's not
yeah,
that's like that's
and we're keeping his secret, and we he said, he was kind of mad that he told me about it.
it's like
He wasn't supposed to tell anybody about it, and he told me about it. And
it's gonna be. Don't worry, nobody's gonna believe us
I've
anyway.
spoke on it on the radio a few times, and I guess he's caught some grief over that, But this guy, we know where he's at, and he works amongst us,
So basically, he
and
stayed put. He didn't go off somewhere where
no,
nobody like. Okay.
no, he's half human anyway, so.
Because see, that's the thing. It's like, hey,
And
like you're gonna introduce me to your parents, kind of deal.
he said he did meet his mother once. He said he is half human, and he said he was disappointed in the fact that she was excited to see him and happy to meet him and very kind and polite, and but it was a very short meeting,
Oh, so in other words,
and
his mom is off planet. She's not. She's
yeah, she's off planet, and he got to meet her, and she's just not, she doesn't have that human connection that we
sure.
have with our children. And he said that was kind of disappointing, but he got to meet her, and she was nice, and she was friendly, and she was cordial. But
All right, go back to Earth.
it was
Yeah.
like, okay, it's time for me to go back to work now. So,
Right, right, right. Like there's not that. Yeah, yeah, mom.
yeah. And he's like, man, he said they're missing that human connection that we got. So,
Well, you know what you always think of. I'm sure you've heard of people that say that they've either even witnessed hybrid type of programs or attempts or even products of hybridization.
oh, yeah.
You know,
Because,
and then it's like, okay, genetically, are they? How do they make it compatible?
yeah. I mean, I keep one. I hope I get the chance to meet this guy. I want to see his make his UFO appear. I think that'd be so cool.
It's like, hey, I heard. Want me to
Right.
keep your secret? Take me out to see the
Yeah, yeah.
spacecraft.
You need to at least show me your UFO if I'm gonna keep your
Right.
secret.
Well, that's the thing that it's like, okay, otherwise I'm gonna assume you're BSing,
Yeah.
or something.
Right,
But
and that's why this other guy was. He was like, I like the guy. I don't want to offend him, but it's kind of, it's pretty far out. And then he just made his UFO appear a couple of times for him, and he's like, okay, this guy's a real deal. you know.
well, yeah, that's a pretty good convincer right there. That'll convince you.
Yeah,
But no, and the reason why I say that he stayed put because he's saying, I have access to this, a spaceship, but obviously he stayed there.
but he
It's not
drives a
like,
car now. He drives a car everywhere he goes. He has a car, owns a house,
yeah,
has
no,
a
it's like,
job,
yeah,
works
he's
for a
be
living.
he's a normie kind
Yeah,
of.
yeah. You just think he's some nerdy little guy, but he's just
That's,
half
you know what?
ET, and he checks in at the big base, on the other side of Jupiter every now and then. So
And let me ask you, did he, and I know this, but see, this is the, it's like, okay, if you're hybridized, like, do you look, all human? Or can you imagine if he goes for a checkup, if, inside he's got something that his doctor's like, what?
but yeah, but
It's,
all through school he played dumb. He was
sure.
he would like fail tests, and he was tutoring this guy like he was a genius and knew all the answers, without doing hardly any studying. And then when he'd take the test in class, he would fail the test.
That's
He
interesting.
would make a 20. And he's
Right,
like,
right. In other words, that it's
he
obvious
said,
this guy's
he said,
flunking out.
you taught me everything I know, and I made a 80, and you made a
Right.
20. What's up with that? He's like, well, you had to keep a low profile.
Well, you can kind of understand that, like, and and I'm sure you've heard of that, Ronnie, where they say, well, that there's a lot of, in other words, that some of these ETs have found a way to basically disguise themselves to look human.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Not because they're hybrids, but because they found a way to, and like that movie, the one with Rowdy Piper, where they're there, but we just don't see them.
Yeah,
And
and even and all the presidents and everybody every now and then you'll see the snake eyes appear, on the camera, and you see these YouTube videos where,
right,
you
with the
know,
reptilians that every
yeah,
once in a while.
where
Did
they
you?
got a reptilian glitch going on, and then
Right, and it's like,
Biden's ears look different, like on a few different days. Like one ear, it looks this way one day, and the next day it looks like it's different, and it's like,
well,
hey,
that
maybe it is
it's
something.
well, you know what? Did you see that? And I think I look at that about a month ago. I'm sure you've seen it. It was one of these videos that went viral about this lady. She's on some flight. She gets up
All
and she
right.
starts pointing at some passenger, saying that
Yeah.
guy's not human. And she was saying something about the way his eyes
Oh
looked.
yeah. Yeah.
And
He
I'd
could have
be
just
like,
like he could have like just said, okay, you want to pull my string here, blink, blink, and she's like,
well,
oh
you know what's
crap.
really funny? Because there was a lot of people saying, well, was she doing a hoax? I go, man, you know what? Maybe it's because I wouldn't do it because I'd be embarrassed. But she
Yeah.
kind of, if she was acting, she did
Yeah.
a pretty good job of it, like wigging out.
Yeah. Yeah. You say, well, she's just drunk.
Right, or but she didn't look drunk, or it's
Yeah.
like, and can you imagine? Because here you're pointing a finger at another passenger saying that guy's not human, and his eyes, and then it's like,
Uh,
I mean, this person could have turned around and said, hey, that lady's,
yeah. He could have just
but
been like, yeah, you need to sit somewhere else. you know,
can you,
blink his eyes
no, can you
sideways.
imagine that guy? It must have been great for him. Probably nobody did want to sit
He's
next to
like,
him,
I
just in
don't, yeah,
case.
I don't want to sit
The
there.
people in front of him or on the other side must have been like, "Oh my God, this is gonna be a long trip. What if this guy?"
Yeah.
But yeah, it's you hear about that as far as the reptilians, and you hear about that
Uh,
that there's more than one type, and that there's some that are the reptilians, and then there's others that are like there's different types. In other words, others,
oh
I don't
yeah.
know what to call them, species or whatever.
Yeah,
Eh,
I've seen a bunch. I've seen
What
quite a
what have
few
you seen?
myself. Yeah, and I had an alien home invasion, and I think it was in 2010. Yeah, 2010. I
What?
had a
Okay, this is like a year after you start seeing.
yeah, yeah, and I mean it just yeah, my story just got weirder and weirder and weirder, and it was like I started seeing the lights, and then started seeing the UFO craft. And then I was trying to get pictures of it and trying to get proof of it, and I had people saying, "Man, you got to get some pictures if you're seeing this kind of stuff." And it's really hard to get pictures, and so I came up with this idea, and they said, "Well, if you just get pictures of lights in the dark, they don't prove a damn thing."
Right.
I had bought this green high-powered laser from China, and I thought, you know what? If I shine this laser at a UFO, and if the craft's propulsion system causes the laser to bend, and we were going to record that on video, yeah, we got some proof. We got some proof there that we're making light bend. Whatever this thing is making light bend, and that's pretty solid evidence there to scholars and skeptics. So I said, me and a friend said we were UFO watching. I had the laser, he had the camera, and we were like, yeah. And I said, man, I've already seen like two craft in the last 5 days, And I said, there's a good chance we'll see something. So we went out, and man. And we wasn't seeing anything, and I was about ready to give up, and my friend said, "Oh my God, man, look, what is that?" And it was a four-light craft lit up, and I grabbed the laser and I said, "Oh, that's it, that's what I've been seeing." And I shined the light at the thing, and I shined it around the thing, and it was scary because I hope they don't take this wrong, you know.
Right. That's what I'm thinking. I'd be like,
Because
oh,
that was one of the scariest things I've ever done in my life. Was there's a UFO, which is scary enough, and now you're going to shine a laser at it and hope they don't take it wrong. And I said, okay, I'm going to shine I shine the laser around the craft, making sure not to shine it on the craft because I didn't want them to get the wrong idea.
uh
And
huh.
and then I said, all right, man. I said, I didn't see no beam deviation, did you? And he goes, no, I didn't see anything like that. And I said, okay, I'm going to shine it on the craft, and I'm going to see if it reflects the light or if it absorbs it or whatever. And I said, well, hang on to your pants, man. I shined it right on the UFO, and it just absorbed the beam, man. It didn't light up like when you shine it
Uh
on the side
huh.
of a car or anything. It was just like I shined it on some black metal or something. and the light just it ate the light, And I said, my God, look, man, it just absorbing the beam. And I said, I hope you're getting all this, man. And I looked over at my friend, and he had his hands on his hips and is looking at the thing, and he had his mouth wide open. And I was going, the camera, man. You had one job, the camera. And you got the camera sitting within arm's reach of you, and you're just standing there gawking at the
I was going to
UFO.
tell you, this is a pretty good friend, though. He was out there.
Hey, he was willing to go UFO watching with me. He probably thought, this guy's nuts. He ain't never
Right.
seen
Well, one thing
anything.
is to say, yeah, we're going to go watch it, and then all of a sudden, there it is.
He ain't never seen a UFO before. He probably thought I was full of crap. And when one showed up, man, he was like, "Oh my God, what is that?" And there's a camera right there beside you. Why not get a picture and video of it? And so I was frustrated, and this thing. And by the time we got the camera and was trying to get it up and running, the thing just blinked out like they always do. There's all lights just go
So,
black. Yeah, they just go black out.
was that after that was when things started showing up at home?
The next night, it was the next night, and it had something to do with this event. I think it was like I
Ah,
don't
you
know if
laid
it's
out the welcome mat.
I don't know if the laser got them curious as to what the hell I was shining on their UFO or what the hell, but yeah, they paid me a little visit at home,
How
and
did that happen?
I mean I was working. I came home from work and I got an indoor cat, and the indoor cat is missing. And I'm thinking that's weird. He usually comes and sees me as soon as I walk in the door. I'm walking around the house and I can't see him anywhere. I walk into the third bathroom where his litter box is at and stuff, and there's a huge hole clawed in the floor. And this is a declawed cat. And I'm going, how in the hell did he chew a hole in the wood floor so big that he could escape under the house? And
Wow.
I assumed the cat did it. And I was like, well, he's underneath. And then I started looking in the hole and calling for him, and I heard him meowing up underneath there. And I'm thinking, hey, he's up underneath there. And the hole's so big I could get my whole arm in it. So I got my flashlight, and I reached in there and called him, and I could sound like he was very close. And I never could feel him, so I pulled my arm out. And then I shined the flashlight down the hole, and there was two eyes looking back up at me, but I can't guarantee it was a cat. And I was thinking,
Let me tell you something.
I said, I don't know what that
Somebody
is.
needs to write that up for a horror flick. Let me tell you you're brave. Well, you know what? I
And I
take that
thought,
back. At that point, you had no idea what you were dealing with. You're thinking, I'm trying to get my cat.
I was just trying to get my cat, and I seen a couple eyes looking up at me, and I'm going, man, I don't know if that's a cat or what that is. And it just looked at me for a second, and I could see the glow off its eyes, and then I'm thinking, man, it could be anything under there.
Right, right.
I'm probably not very smart for sticking my arm up underneath there. Well, I went around to the access panel up underneath the house, and I started
Mm-hmm.
calling the cat. And luckily, he was happy to come to the opening, and I grabbed him out of there, and I noticed the rocks had been pulled back. And these are pretty heavy rocks. A cat couldn't push them aside, and he could have probably escaped. There was enough room. He probably could have escaped if he wanted to. When I called him, he was happy to come to me, and I was happy he did, so I wouldn't have to crawl up underneath there. I grabbed him and I pushed the rocks back, and I went up and I got some heavy steel 30-year tin that we put on our roofs down here in Texas, and I screwed it into the wood floor so he couldn't escape again in that hole. And I thought, man, this cat is being a pain tonight, and it's time for me to lay down and go to bed because I have to get up at like 4:30 in the morning to go to work in my job, and so it's pretty early at night. I'm laying down. I went in my bedroom. I just laid down, and I just laid down, and all of a sudden, I ain't had time to go to sleep or anything. I mean, I just hit the mattress, and then all of a sudden I hear dishes getting knocked over the sink, and I'm going, what in the hell? This cat is a pain tonight, man.
I'm
So
thinking,
I'm
yeah,
fixing
man,
to
the cat's taking the blame for this,
I'm
right?
fixing to have to go see what the hell's going on in the kitchen. Well, I know it's when I tried to get up. I couldn't, man. I didn't feel anything holding me until I tried to get up. And when I tried to get up, it was almost like something was just pinning me in that bed. It was like the harder I tried to get up, the more force it exerted. And it was like somebody was just putting sandbags on you. And it was like I could not get out of that bed to save my life, man. I'm thinking, my God, am I having a heart attack? What the hell's going on?
Mm-hmm.
I'm wide awake. I don't feel hurt or anything weird, but I cannot get out of this stinking bed to save my life, man. And then I keep hearing dishes getting knocked over in there again. All of a sudden now I'm hearing cabinet doors open, and I'm hearing the drawers being pulled out, and I'm going, now come on, man. That cat,
Unless my cat grew an opposable thumb.
and then that cat can't do that shit. My cat don't know how to open the cabinet drawers and stuff like that, or he never has before. And then I looked through my doorway, and there's the cat looking back towards the kitchen, like he's very concerned, like, oh shit,
Yeah, it's like you need to get out here.
something other than me is in the house, you know. And he's kind of looking at the bedroom, and he's standing right in front of the bedroom door, and he's looking towards the kitchen, and I'm still hearing noises coming from there, and I'm going, crap. I'm trapped in bed, and the cat's in the door, and there's something in the kitchen, and so I mean, I don't know. I've got a drop down ceiling. I've had squirrels in the house before, so you know, part of your brain says, "Oh, rationalizing. Okay, man,
Right.
probably a squirrel, a coon, or something has gotten into the house. I'm having some kind of medical condition, and I can't get out of the stinking bed. The cat's freaked out by whatever's in the house, so I got a little bit going on right now." And the cat runs off in there to where I'm at and jumps on the bed. And he's walking around the bed. There ain't nothing pinning him to the bed. I mean,
Uh
whatever it
huh.
is only affecting me. It ain't affecting him. He's walking around like it ain't nothing. And he's very concerned. He's scared. You know, he's like, man, there's something in here. And I look through the door. I'm in my bedroom. And I'm looking out of my bedroom door into the living room, and I see a streak go by. And I mean, whatever this thing is was moving. And I mean, I've never seen anything move. It was just a blur. And then it ran back by, and then it ran back by again. And then I realized there's more than one. There's like two of them. And they're
Okay.
running back and forth. And then I hear them. They're knocking over the lamp at the computer desk. They're opening the drawers
Oh.
in the I've got a cabinet in here, and they're opening all the drawers, and they're opening anything that can be opened up, and they're knocking stuff over, and they're breaking stuff. And then I'm thinking, oh man, is coons? What is this? Man, I don't know. I've never
I'm
seen a
thinking,
coon.
yeah, because I'm sure at this point you're thinking
I've
anything but
never
what it is.
I've never seen a coon move this fast. You know, coons are fast, but they're not so fast that they turn into a streak when they're moving. And then and then when I was looking through the door, I seen one run up and run across a vertical wall sideways, like gravity didn't even affect
Oh
him.
my God. I
And,
don't.
and at that point, I'm going, okay, all right, okay. This probably has more to do with what happened last night than and coons or squirrels in my house. And I'm thinking, okay, yeah, this has more to do with this is ET in my dadgum house. And I seen one run straight up the wall, straight up the vertical wall, push off the ceiling and run straight back down. And
Oh.
they're running around like gravity's not even affecting them. There's two of them, and there's almost like they're playing chase, man, like they're having a great time. And then a third one comes onto the scene, and he runs and he stops right in front of the door. I see the brown streak stop right in front of my door, and I'm looking and I'm horrified. I'm 10 feet away from this thing, and this thing, when it stops, I could see it perfectly clear. And this thing, he's comes in, he stops on all four legs, he rears up on two legs, and what this
He's
thing looked.
they're running around on four legs. Holy crap.
And then he
I
stood up.
swear.
Yeah, he stood up on two legs. And he had a face like an angry old man, real tight, squinted eyes, and he had a shell like appendage on his back and on his top of his head that had thorn appendages sticking off of it. He looked he looked like had like a human looking face, but the rest of his body looked more like an insect than it did any kind of a human. The arms were long and skinny, and they had like they almost had looked like insect looking fingers on them that were really long, and
Uh-huh.
and the way these guys ran across the wall, you know, it's almost like had to be part insect. But the face, I was amazed at how much it looked like a human. I mean, it had a nose like a human. It had
Okay.
tight, squinted eyes, and it had real tight lips, and no facial hair, and the ears. It was like the shell appendage over his head went down over where his ears were,
Mm-hmm.
and the shell, the exoskeleton scale on this thing, and it had tiny sharp thorns that were pointed towards the back,
Okay.
and they were long enough that if you grabbed this thing, it would hurt your hand. I mean, they were nasty looking thorns,
When
man.
he got up on
He
his
was
hind legs, how tall were they?
he wasn't all that tall. He was probably 18 inches, very short, man. Very
Really?
small, yeah, very small, very fast, and I was going, and then it was almost like he looked towards the other two, and it's almost like I didn't hear him say anything, or I didn't hear any noise that he made, but it's almost like he ate the other two out, and because they immediately back to searching instead of running around chasing each other. So
What do you think they were looking for?
I think they were looking for the laser.
Oh,
And
interesting.
I was thinking, man, those guys they just stay out there. They can take whatever the hell they want.
Just
I
get
said,
out of.
I'm out. Me and the cat are in there at the bed, and we're this guy's 10 feet from us, man, and I'm in clear view. And he's an ugly looking dude. I'm telling you, man.
And they were they
And
they they were like the same type. All of them. Did you ever get
yeah,
to see?
all three of these looked like they were identical looking. And then all of a sudden, I was thinking, man, just stay out there. Don't come in here. Well, that didn't work because they all three just shot into the room underneath the bed at the same time. And they're picking up the bed spring, the whole frame with me on it. And I'm a big guy. I'm 200 at that time. I was probably 260 pounds. And they're picking me up and the frame up and the mattress up and they're banging it down on the floor.
Oh my
And
God.
the cat bails. The cat, man, he
Oh,
bails off
that
that
poor
bed
cat.
and he takes off. I see him sliding around the corner to get the hell out of there. And I was wishing I could have went with him, but I'm still paralyzed on this damn bed. They're bouncing me off the mattress and I still can't do anything. And I'm thinking I'm fixing to die here. I've got to.
Like right.
And so finally they stopped bouncing the bed and then they started digging. It sounded like they were clawing it through the mattress, like they were going to claw through the mattress to get to me. And I was like, I could feel them right underneath my back. And I'm going, oh my God, they're going to claw through this mattress and tear me apart. And I'm thinking, I'm fixing to die here, man. So I thought, man, the only thing I know, I had a golf club in the corner. And I thought, man, if I can break free, I'm going to grab that golf club and I'm going to kill me some dadgum aliens. And I'm like, and so I was like, I'm gonna fight this thing, whatever's holding me, as hard as I can. And if I can get loose, I'm gonna grab that golf club and out of that golf bag, and I'm gonna go to town on these guys. And I cursed, and I tried to curse, and I tried to fight this thing, and I couldn't get loose, man. There was no way.
So it was everything. Your torso, your
Everything,
arms, your legs, everything.
everything. It hurt so bad. It felt like it almost killed me. It felt like it affected my breathing. It felt like it affected my heart. I put out so much force to fight it, and the more force I put out, the more they used, and it was almost like it almost killed me. I felt like I had a heart attack there, and I went back to bed. And I laid back in the bed and I was like, shoot, I'm completely at their mercy, man. There ain't no way to do this. There ain't nothing I can do. I'm just stuck here, man. They're going to do whatever they want to do.
That's all.
Wasn't no fighting it. And all of a sudden, then I heard him over towards the gun cabinet. I could heard him over towards the gun cabinet, and I'm thinking, well, you ain't going to get in there. It's just locked. It's locked. They ain't going to get in there. And, uh, and then next thing you know, it was like it got quiet. It's like they exited the room. I was trying to look over towards the gun cabinet to see if I could see them, and I never could get a look at them. And then when I looked back, it was like everything had gotten quiet, and they had exited the room. And then all of a sudden, my body jumped up out of that bed, and I was in a fit of rage, and I screamed, and I grabbed the golf club. I had tried to do this 5 minutes earlier and couldn't do it.
Right.
But it was like they had blocked the signals from my mind to my body, and when they released me, that was the first thing that got processed. And I had tried to do this 5 minutes earlier. And
Okay.
now I've got the golf club in my hand. I'm out of the bed, and I'm like, crap. Well, it's time to go on. I guess I'm already angry and I'm pissed. I might as well go on an alien hunt like I originally intended. So I went to the house and didn't see them anywhere. Looked at all the dark corners. Every drawer, every cabinet in the whole damn house had been opened, and there was some dishes knocked over and broke in the kitchen. The lamp broke at the computer desk. Every drawer was left open, and I was like, man, I couldn't find them anywhere. And and I went back into the bathroom where the hole was that
Hmm.
I had covered up earlier, so the cat couldn't get out. They had pulled the screws right up out of the wood, and the
Really.
30-year tin was bent. And I mean, I'm 260 pounds, and I don't know if I could even bend that tin like they bent it. They pulled it up far enough that they could get out through that hole. And it was like these
Oh.
guys. I was going, so you know what? These guys are the ones that made the hole. God only knows they may have been in the
Yes.
house earlier, and And then I looked at the gun cabinet, and then I went and looked at the gun cabinet. That's where the laser was at, and the gun cabinet was unlocked. And I'm thinking that laser's gone. They found that laser and they took it. It's gone. And I looked in the gun cabinet. And I was kind of mad then because I'd been walking around scared hunting aliens with the golf club, and here I had a perfectly good loaded 12 gauge right there in the unlocked gun. The reason I didn't go get the 12 gauge in the first place because I thought I would have had to get the key to unlock it, and it would have
Right,
took
you're like,
time. You
yeah, you're
know,
just thinking
let's
this is what's handy.
let's go quick. This is handy and it's available now. The gun cabinet, I have to go find the key. I have to come back in. I have to unlock it. I have to
So
get it
did
out of
they
the
take the
case.
laser?
No, I looked in there and the laser was still in the box. I don't know if they found
Huh.
it. I don't know if they observed it. I don't know if they never found it. I don't know. But they had somehow they had unlocked that gun cabinet. The top and the bottom of the gun cabinet was unlocked. And I always
That's
kept it locked because my girlfriend comes over. She's got small kids, so I have to
right,
keep it
right. And you're
locked.
like, yeah, gun safety, sure.
Yeah, and
That is, I swear. And your poor cat, did you? So, yeah, let me tell you something. And you went back. Okay, after this happens, like, what do you decide to do? You think I'm going to go back out there and keep
well,
looking for them, or what? Or did they
well,
keep coming back on their own?
Well, the first thing I did, it was like these guys escaped under my house. I can't sleep another night in this house and have any kind of peace, thinking that these guys might be nested up under my house.
Yeah.
So the next day, I had to call my buddy Al over again, the same guy who was UFO watching with me, and I said, "Look, all I need you to do is stand outside this damn. I'm gonna go up underneath this son of a bitch." And I had a gun in one hand, a knife in the other, and I had a spotlight on my
And what is
head.
it? This is the crawl space under your house.
Yeah, and I'm like, I said, man, I have got to go up underneath here and make sure these damn things ain't nested up underneath here. And I said, these things are fast and they're strong. And I said, if I, and I said, call 911 and
I was going to say, you
get
hear me
somebody over here.
scream.
I said, yeah, call everybody you can call, man. If you hear me scream underneath here, I said, get everybody over here. Call 911, get the police, get the
Jesus.
ambulance, you know. And I crawled up underneath there, and there wasn't anything up underneath there, and I could see where the wood they had clawed, and there was a lot of wood up underneath the house, like they had clawed the hole from the underneath the house, man. The scrape marks, you could see where it was like,
Uh-huh.
yeah, they had like,
Let me ask you something. Do you think that's how they got into the house to begin with?
yeah, and I
Oh,
don't know why. I mean, if they're intelligent creatures, if
right.
they could unlock a gun cabinet, why wouldn't they just unlock a door?
Exactly.
It was just weird. There's aspects of the story that are just weird. Why would they claw a hole through? But the part of it, I've got hardwood floors, and that hardwood. This is like the one room in my whole house that doesn't have hardwood floors, and I'm like, they chose the right room to claw a hole through,
Uh-huh.
and and, and I was like a declawed cat couldn't have made a hole like that,
Really. I
And
know.
and
But
I've
that
been
that poor cat must have been like,
God only knows what they did to him up underneath that house. They probably
sure.
grabbed him in the house, drug him underneath the house, and God only knows what they did to him up underneath there. So
So once you cleared the crawl space, you made a good point. I gotta live here. I gotta sleep here.
yeah,
I,
I had to know, man. I mean, I can't live in here in any kind of peace thinking those things are nested up under there. It's like I
so
have
what
to.
happened? I mean,
I had to
after
man
that,
up. I had to man up and go up underneath there and do the scary thing. If you're a homeowner, that's the kind of stuff you have to do. I'm going to go up under and make sure there's nothing up
you know
underneath there
what,
that ain't
Ronnie?
supposed to be up underneath there.
There's a lot of people I know that they would have said, "Screw it, I'm not going under there. I'm not."
Yeah, I've talked to people who say I would have just moved.
Yeah, exactly. You read my mind. I would have said, "Man, what's
Yeah,
a good real estate agent?"
yeah. I mean, I bought this house; it's paid for. So
Right, but
I've got a lot of money in this place.
so here you are. You. I'm wondering how you wrap your head around that, because one thing is when you see lights out in the distance, to all of a sudden they follow you home. So now
Right,
you
right.
realize, God, they know. What's that thing? They know where I live.
Yeah, yeah. So that's like close encounters of the third kind or fourth kind there.
So what
So
did you do after that?
uh, yeah, after that we started. I was continuing to talk to researchers and stuff like that, and showing, and I've had some footage, and it was like 1 year after that date. For a solid year, man, I was thinking, man, as scary as that was, I probably never see anything like that again, and maybe it's a
Hmm.
good thing, but it was pretty wild and pretty amazing to have to live through that, and then you go a year and you don't see anything, not even
Did
no
you go back out there with
lights
the laser?
lights or nothing, man. I hadn't seen anything UFO related. And I'm like, well, I guess I'll never see anything like that again. And boy, that was wrong. 1 year to the day of of the of the alien home invasion, man. I was working down by Coleman, Texas, and my God, it was. If they were trying to impress me or whatever they were doing down there, I don't know. I seen 3 UFO in a 1 hour period, and one of them was a mile-long V-shaped craft that flew over my head.
Wow.
And I mean, if you ain't never seen a mile-long craft fly right over the top of your head, probably 200 or 300 feet up in
That's
the
got to be
air,
impressive.
and this thing was solid rock on the bottom. It looked like a meteor. It looked like this. I was looking up at the surface of the moon. I mean, I could see impact marks. I could see craters on this thing. And at the first, I thought it was a giant meteor. I thought, oh my God, it's a meteor fixing to hit Earth, and I'm fixing to die, you know.
Right.
And then it started slowing down. I'm going, okay, well, meteors don't slow down. And then I seen a huge pipe-looking thing sticking out of the bottom of it, and then another one, and I'm going, okay, well, meteors don't have pipes sticking out of the bottom of them.
Mm-hmm.
And then the thing slowing down, then the front part started tilting up, and then it was real flat, and then it started tilting up like a skyscraper, and then it shot off sideways, and it shot off
Wow.
so fast, man, it made air vortexes behind it. It created such a vacuum behind it that you could literally see the air being sucked in from it, moving so fast. And then it went away from me about a mile, and then the top banked, and it was coming back to me. And when I looked at the top of the thing, it looked like there was a city on it. It looked like there was buildings, there was lights, there was like a blue glowing like power line that was stretched across the surface of it that was glowing brilliant blue. There was a tall tower that had a huge array of lights on it, and I actually got some footage. I actually caught some video of this thing, and and this is a video of a UFO mothership over Coleman, Texas, and people can say whatever they want to say, but this is a real deal, man. And I didn't even get the whole craft, but I got the left hand part of the one of the V's of it. It was a V-shaped craft. Each half of the V was about a half mile long, and I got the left half of the V in a video, and you could see that there's structures on the top of this thing. It's solid rock on the bottom, and it's moving through the air like a jet. You know, as fast as a jet. And this thing, it started coming back at me, and I thought I was going to have to hide again. I was getting ready to crawl up underneath the truck, and then it stopped, and then it made a huge sweeping circle, and then it shot up at a 45-degree angle, and it went from being a huge giant craft to just being some lights moving across the sky. It went that high up that fast, and I'm like, okay, man. And I've had some skeptics say, man, said if you ain't lying about this, you won't be afraid to file a FAA report, right? A low craft report. I said, absolutely
Okay.
not, man. I've seen it. I've got video of it, and I filed a FAA low craft report, and I said, you know, it's a felony to file. They can file a felony on you if you're filing a false report on that.
Right.
And I said, that's fine, man. I know what I saw, and I said, hey, there's radars all over that country, man. It had to show up on radars. I said, I ain't got nothing to hide, man. So I filed a FAA low craft report, and I never said the word UFO in that low craft report. I just said there was a huge craft that was way too low to the ground to be the size that it was,
Okay.
and I talked about its movement, but I never said it was a UFO in the FAA report. And they said, and we had a phone conference, and they said they said, well, they said all known craft in the area were accounted for without incident, and then I should report my UFO to Newport. And they used the term UFO, and I'm thinking,
Uh
man,
huh.
that's how often does the FAA tell a witness,
Yeah.
you know, you need to report your UFO to Newport? So that means they
Uh huh.
probably seen enough of it to know that it shouldn't have been there. All known craft were
Sure.
accounted for without incident, and so
And
basically, so
usually, yeah, they want you to keep on reporting it, like
they
report it
they
over there, like
yeah, and they don't know what it was. Basically, is what it means. Was it whatever it was? It wasn't
and let me
nothing.
tell you something. The fact that that was a year to the day that you got that visit, that was significant. There was something there. I mean, maybe it's coincidence, but so let me ask you, when you went home that day, you must have been like, okay, I hope my cat's okay. Didn't you worry a little bit like the last time I saw
I was
something?
I was excited because I had been struggling for so long to get videos and footage, and I filled my phone completely full. In fact, the best sighting I had that night was the third UFO I seen. I left the area, but I didn't go about a half mile away, and there was a light that was hovering over a double wide mobile home that was off out in the country that some farmers live in.
Uh-huh.
and I stopped my truck, and I said, "That is not a star. That is something hovering above their house." And I took the spotlight in my truck and I shined on it. And when I did, I guess they figured out the gig is up. So then all of a
Mm-hmm.
sudden, a triangle set of lights started glowing underneath it. That was right over the top of these people's house, and a light came on in a compartment underneath that thing. And from where I was at, I could look up inside this UFO. And I mean, these triangle lights. There was a triangle opening, and these lights were staggered around the triangle opening, an even number apart. The lights were the same whitish blue glowing lights that I had seen before, and this opening was so big you could have put a Cessna airplane up in it. And
Okay.
so the lights came on inside this thing, and I was standing there looking inside this opening, inside the UFO. I probably wasn't 100 yards away, maybe 150 yards
Was
away.
there anybody inside the trailer?
Yeah, there was lights all over the trailer, lights on. I was shining my light at the trailer. I was blowing my horn, trying to get their attention.
Right.
And they had a pickup running outside. There was a pickup outside the house, and it was running. And I'm like, my God, man, you people need to come out and just look up over your house right
And
now,
get out of
because
there, whatever.
because I'm 200 yards away, and what I'm seeing is amazing. And they could walk out of their house and literally just look straight up, and
Uh-huh.
probably scare the living hell out of them.
I
And
bet.
because I'm looking inside the UFO, and I couldn't tell what the UFO looked like. All I could see is the triangle opening, and the lights, and there's lights up inside the triangle opening. I could see up in the crack. And this thing ain't there ain't nothing in there that looks like it ever been touched by a human hand. I mean, in the movie Aliens, where there's ribs and stuff like that, the walls are made out of ribs, and there was
Uh-huh.
piping that was built into the walls, and there was a large that looked like the cochlea of the inner ear. There was a huge spiral. There was a huge piping thing that spiraled down to a tight circle, like a shell, like a
Okay.
seashell, like a seashell. I have no
Right.
idea what that thing was, but it was
You know,
it
maybe
was
it's some
huge.
type of bio spaceship, like who knows?
Yeah, I mean, I don't. Somebody was saying that they think it was like some kind of a plasma. They were pumping plasma around, and plasma generates energy or something like that. So,
So did those
but I mean,
people in the mobile home, did they ever, or did they thought, well, let's just stay in here?
they never came out. The ship slowly moved off away from me, and then all the lights went out on it. And I was thinking about driving my truck down their driveway, but I got a big old truck, and there's no place to turn it around down there, and I didn't want to get stuck, down there,
Right.
And I'm thinking, my God, I don't know. These people, I couldn't get their attention. They wouldn't come out of the house. I went back a week or so later and talked to the lady that lived there,
Okay.
and she said they don't know anything happened like that. They wouldn't know where anything like that happened. But they said their grandmother that used to live in a bedroom that was facing the field. She said the lights would come and see her. The lights would come across the field and come right up to her window and see her. She
And they
said the
just
light,
never they
and
couldn't make head or tails of it.
they thought she's old and she's getting kind of crazy, and they never paid a whole lot of a mention to it. But she goes, the lights came across the field, came right to my window and see me again last night, and it just fields outside of her window. There was not even roads, and roads
So
weren't
what
even in the
happened
distance.
after that? And that's really interesting because it makes you think that these people, did they do something to their memory, like something? Because this sounds like pretty difficult to overlook that you've got like something over your house.
Yeah, and it was like something was definitely going on there, and I'm thinking that there was probably another craft that fits up into the bottom of this UFO.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably a triangle craft, and because that it's just a huge opening in the bottom of this UFO, and I mean it's a big opening. I mean it was so big you could put a Cessna airplane up in
Yeah,
there,
maybe it was like a docking
and
station that it
yeah,
could.
so
co-
it was like there was another craft somewhere that's probably they're waiting on to come dock with it, and then take off together, so.
So what happens here? You're thinking,
And I was really wanting to get a picture of this because this would have been the best picture I could have taken. And I'm sitting there pushing my camera says memory full, memory full, memory full. I'd already taken so many pictures
oh, you used
and
up your
video.
memory.
Oh, that video, yeah. And I was thinking maybe I could delete something, but if I delete something, I might delete something important. And I'm like, oh man, this is, you know, I mean, this
So
thing's
let me
been
ask you,
around.
is this that where you saw this? Was this close to the area where you had seen the ships the year before, or were they totally separate areas, like far away?
Pretty close to the same. Yeah, it's
Okay,
probably not that far away. I mean, within 60 miles. You know,
okay,
and the town of Stephenville is not far away either. You know, Stephenville, Texas, had a huge sighting. You know, so
all
that's
right.
yeah, that's not that far away either. That's probably within 80 miles of there. So this is
So
right
it,
down.
yeah, it's the same general area, more or
Yeah,
less.
yeah.
That's so interesting that apparently that there was something about that area that got their attention.
But I mean, all the pictures I've taken, you can go to the Google Images and type in Ronny Dawson UFO pictures, and all
I
the
mean,
pictures that I've taken will pop up on that thing. And there's some amazing pictures, man. I mean, there's some of that big craft that I took. Uh, I mean, I analyzed that thing for years. We use different kind of software, and I'm not trying to fake it or not trying to.
mm-hmm.
I just want to visually enhance it. I want to see everything I could possibly see, and uh, and at first it was terrible because you know when I mean Windows Movie Maker was about all you could have out there, and it was like
Right, yes, yeah, right. Back then, you're right. That's what they had.
15.
Yeah.
I had 15 seconds of footage, and I could only get 7 frames out of that. You know about and I'm going through the footage, and none of the 7 frames are uh, are very clear because you're taking a picture of a moving object at night with a crappy phone. So, and but later on the software got better, and I got up to like 22 images for the 15 seconds, and some of those images were they just happened to catch that spot to where the camera's automatic zoom was where it needed to be and the light was right, and I got a better look years after I caught the video than I had in years because the software had got better.
Right. Yeah, that's the
Yeah,
thing. The
and
the
then I started looking.
megapixels and all that stuff.
So I took some of the best pictures of it. I started looking at the surface of the alien craft, and I'm looking for machinery. I'm looking for alien architecture. I'm looking for building structures and stuff like that on this thing. And and I'm thinking, all right, man, you know. And then I had this lady. I'd posted some of the videos on YouTube, and this lady goes, "Well, there's a weird looking creature right there," and she goes, and I'm going, "What in the world is she talking about?"
Oh,
And
she saw something you.
she said there's a creature standing on the surface of this thing, and I'm going. I mean, I've been looking for alien architecture and stuff like that. I said,
Uh
man,
huh.
I said you're gonna have to circle it for me. Show me what you're seeing. And when she did circle it for me, I was like, holy crap, man, she ain't crazy. There is something odd looking there. It was a four-legged beast with horns on it, and this thing had to been huge. I mean, this thing had to be 20 feet long, man. Standing 10 feet up in the air, or 10 feet tall, 20, 30 feet long. And man, I was like, whatever this thing is, it's huge. And it looked like a dog. It had legs like a dog, but it had horns on its head and a flat face. And my goodness, man,
Let
I
me
don't know
see if
what
I
it
can.
is, man.
Hold on. I think that I found it. Hold on. Let me see if I can. Hold on a minute. Let me see if I can.
And it's certainly not a great picture, but it is odd enough to make you scratch your head going out. Just a dadgum minute, you know. That is, you know. And I started looking for some other stuff too, and then I found some other. I found that man, there was like an insect looking creature that
Oh,
kept showing up, and I could scan through the frames and I could see this thing, and it was like it was moving up and down in the
no, that's
background,
not.
and I kept adjusting the light and trying to get a good view of it, and finally I got a pretty good enhanced view of this thing, and my God, this thing is it's got arms that come out of its back. It's man, it's got to be as tall as a telephone pole. It's got to be 30 to 40 feet tall, and uh, and it's got arms that come out of its back, and they're long arms, man. It almost looks like a T-Rex, except it's got arms that come out of its back, and they're
Hold.
huge, long arms, like spider
Let me see.
arms, man.
Hold
And
on.
I'm like, wow, that is nuts. That is crazy. And then there's a light source, and then you can even see the shadow of one of
Hold on.
one of its own arms cast a shadow across its body, uh, in accordance with the direction of the light shining on it. And I'm like, man, it's not a great picture, but it is certainly one of the
Let me see
oddest
if I
pictures
can.
that's ever been taken. I'm pretty sure. And
Hold on. Let
I
me.
mean, it's a picture of a UFO, and there's something on it that's that
Let me
nobody's
see
ever
if I
seen.
can. I'm going to here. Come on. All right. Let me see if I can. Is that it?
See, I'm not seeing it yet. Yeah, that's one of the creatures. That's one of the creatures on it, and I drew a rough sketch of it because I couldn't get a very good picture of it. So
Mm-hmm.
when people are looking at it, I kind of outline what we're looking at, and
Right.
then I start showing some better images of it, saying, okay, now look, this is what I think I'm seeing. And because a lot of people, they look at it and say, well, I just don't see it. Well, I just don't see it. But when you sketch it out for them, and then you show them the actual picture, and they're going, now hold on, man. You know,
So
it
where
does look
was it
like
that you
what you got sketched out.
where was
This
it that you saw this figure? Because I know
this
you were telling me that.
yeah,
I guess.
this thing is on the huge mothership that flew over me, and
Okay.
there's a and I was looking at it. There's an array of lights on this thing that look like burning spears, and there's a huge hole in the craft, and it looks like there's a UFO docked in the middle of this hole. I mean, it looked like
Okay.
a docking bay for a UFO. It's what it looked like, and above the lights, above this big array of glowing spheres, this thing
Mm-hmm.
was standing. It was like high perched, like it was looking over the place, and I was like, man, that looks like a dragon. It looks like a dragon from like the old stories and stuff. I'm like, what is that? What it looks like? And you could see the horns on it. And I was like, my God, that looks like a dragon, sitting up there on top of this thing.
Right. That you're thinking this is yeah. Because I'm thinking you're probably trying to make sense of what you're seeing. You're thinking, all right, why this
Yeah, I
doesn't
mean,
make
you can see stuff that the glowing spheres, and I'm like, man, these spheres, these are. I'm like, man, a lot of those spheres I've seen. Was some of the first things I saw was lights that would appear over the trees, and they look like giant glowing spheres that they would light up and then they would go out. I seen one like drop 200 feet, sit in a field for a second, and then pop up 200 feet in the air again, and then be joined by a second one, and then
okay.
both of them
Is
took off
this?
together.
Let me see. Is this yours, Ronnie?
Yeah,
This.
that's
Okay.
that's also on the surface of the huge mothership.
Okay.
And that big boy alien there is another creature we found on this thing. It's and he's got those two arms there, and he's got those huge big like telescope eyes, man. And and you can go through the footage of where the craft is moving. You can see his arms. One of his arms moves. He actually moves one of those two arms on him. And I'm like, well, it's not a great picture, but you could see the movement of one of his arms. And you have to realize this footage is from like almost probably close to a mile away. So this
Right. I was
guy,
going to ask you how far away was. Yeah,
like
which
that,
it makes it difficult as far
yeah,
as the.
yeah, that structure next to this guy is probably a two-story building. I mean, so this guy is huge. He's, and it was like, well, if a creature was that big, he would have to sit on the surface of this craft. He's too big to go anywhere else.
Which wow, that's
And I
didn't that
mean,
wig you out? I would have been wigged out. I'd have been like, I'm seeing, not only am I seeing a spaceship, I'm seeing that on the spaceship. I'd have been like, huh?
yeah, this is I guarantee this is absolutely a UFO, and there's stuff on this thing that you can't explain, and that's the kind of stuff you're going to see if this is real UFO. Well, I know this is a real UFO, and this is the kind of stuff we're seeing on it, stuff that you really can't explain, or how can it be there? Why would it be there? But that is not any kind of a creature that exists here on our planet, you know. And this thing,
Right, right. This is like,
look at
that's what
the
I'm saying.
eyes
You
on that
you
thing.
saw this and you were trying to like, when you try to make things look like what you know,
Yeah,
but
yeah. and and this thing is moving pretty quick through the sky, and one of the frames of the video you can actually see it's almost like he has fat on his arm and it's rippling because of the wind turbulence, so it's like
okay.
he's getting some effects of the wind coming across the top of the ship or something, and And I'm like, my God, it'd be like those guys are sitting on the wing of a 747 jet. They're sitting right out there in the open, you know, and
Okay.
this thing is zipping around in the sky, and I'm like, my God, and these guys are sitting right on the top of it.
Let me ask you, did you ever think that the ones that went to your house, that they were like, I don't want to say the butlers, but when you send, like, obviously they're aliens, but when you send the grunts to do the work, do you think that
Yeah,
they might have been that?
yeah, that's exactly what I think they were. I think they were well suited for the task.
Right, like
I think
small, like,
they're subservient to something else. They
mm-hmm.
had their job, and they're probably designed well to do it. So they were like a little recon team. You know,
Yes,
and like I said, I've seen there's a whole bunch of different ET and I've been showing everybody in the world these pictures, and I think I think it's in 2017. I went to the Roswell UFO conference, and I talked to Don Schmidt. I showed Don Schmidt the pictures. He said, "Man, we got to go show these to my buddy over here." He walked me over to a guy named Stanton Freeman. I'd never heard of him or knew him or anything like that.
right,
And he showed Stanton the pictures, and he said, "Boy, that is weird, And they were asking me asking me some questions and stuff like that. And I was like, I said, now, I said, well, let me say something. I said, if I ever get the chance to talk to these guys, what should
right.
I? I'm just an old truck driver with a high school education. I said, I need some of you guys that are a little bit smarter than me to tell me what should I ask these guys. What should I say to these guys? Well, Don Schmidt said, well, ask them how they got here. And Stanton said, he said, no, no. He said, tell them to show you how they got here. And I'm going,
Oh, well,
okay,
yeah, sometimes you got to be careful what you ask for, kind of deal. Like,
yeah. And this
how
is
about
a
this one, Ronnie? This looks like I'm trying to find some of these.
yeah,
Says
this is
something.
the that's the craft that first approached me in the area,
Okay,
and like I said, it sent me. I seen it, and then it disappeared, and then it reappeared, and then it reappeared over the field, and it started moving at me, and it moved over this tree right here,
mm-hmm.
in the dark picture it's the tree is actually lit up from the UFO lights,
Okay, okay.
and then
So,
it
in
started.
other words, this is
This
this
thing
is
got
from the
real.
first time or from the second time when you saw them.
This is this is like the first craft in the Coleman, Texas side. And there was three craft. The second one was the giant mothership, and the third one was the
Okay,
one I couldn't get a picture of. They had the triangle opening in the bottom of it. This is the first one. It came right over the top of me and scared me to death. My knees were shaking so bad I wanted to run for my life, but I couldn't hardly even pull off a walk. This thing
okay,
was out over the field, and then it just started moving at me. And I mean, I could look straight over my head. I could see the disc blocking out the stars overhead as it was moving over me. And then a huge light came on in the compartment underneath it, and there was something in the head and shoulders looking out at me. And I actually got a picture of it. I was shaking. I was so scared, man. I took a picture of this thing, and I guarantee that whatever is inside that compartment looking out at me is an alien. It's absolutely
okay.
ET. And actually, I think it's the same alien they actually came and visited me. I had a first encounter where they actually came and talked to me in August of 2017, and I think one of them is in that picture. It was
Now let me ask you that. That was going to be my next question. Here, they came and they ransacked your house. A year later, you have this mothership sighting. Then what happened? Did they ever come back to see you? Like,
we were
oh,
seeing some anomalies around the house. I mean, it was like ghost-like anomalies that we were catching on film and we were seeing with our naked eyes.
like what?
And like one time I was in my bedroom and I was laying in bed and I was waiting on my wife was giving the kids the go to bed
Mm-hmm.
orders, and she said I'll be back in just a minute. So the bedroom light is on. It's very bright in the bedroom. And I'm laying in bed waiting for my wife to come back in so we can go to sleep. And I'm laying there in bed. I'm closing my eyes so the light won't shine in my eyes. I open my eyes back up, and I notice there's this huge cloud of smoke hanging over the bed. And I'm thinking, oh man, is somebody burned something in the kitchen? The kitchen's next to our bedroom because I don't smell
Right.
anything. But there's this huge smoke that's hovering above my king size bed. It's probably the size of the king size bed, and hovering in the air, a few feet over my head, and I'm going, "Is that smoke? Somebody burn something? I don't smell anything, but I can see this. I can see this big old cloud of smoke." And I'm like, that's weird. I need to get up and check this out. And all of a sudden, this whole thing, this whole white cloud just shot off through the wall. It went right through the
Oh,
wall, right in front of me. I was like, wow, that thing went right through the wall in a room with the bright lights on. And I felt to the wall to see if it was moist, man, with this thing just went right through the wall.
uh-huh.
And I'm like, wow. And there, you know, I didn't have no camera footage or video of that, but I mean, I saw it with my own two eyes in a well lit room.
You know
And
what, the reason why I ask you is I'm sure you've heard some of those people in Skinwalker Ranch, that they have anomalies, and a
oh,
lot of them complained that they had that at their house, like when they left and they
oh
went
yeah,
back home, they had really weird stuff happening at their houses.
oh
Even
yeah,
they, stuff like that. You said like almost like that you really didn't think of off the bat as being connected to extraterrestrials.
yeah. They call it the hitchhiker syndrome. It's where
Right, the hitchhiker stuff.
yeah, you go out and see them, and they follow you home. And I think that's what happened to me. Is like I shot a laser at their craft. They followed me home. They knew where I
Right.
lived, and the next night they come and said hello.
Well, see, but the thing is, well, let me tell you something. Those little guys, I would have wigged out big time. But the thing is, what you're describing is, some people would say, well, is that paranormal? Or, because that's what happens with a lot of these people that were out in Skinwalker. They were saying even security personnel, people that weren't really actively engaged in
Right?
investigating, they were just out there. They had that, like you said, that hitchhiker effect where they went home and
Yeah,
they were having weird paranormal effects at home or poltergeist stuff, and a couple even
yeah,
had sightings of unusual creatures
yeah. It's like all
to
of a
the
sudden
point
your
that some of
house.
them like even refused to go back over there thinking,
Yeah,
hey,
my house is haunted now. you know.
right, well, yeah, kind of like that's several people had the
Yeah,
same thing, and it was always after having gone to
right.
the Skinwalker Ranch location.
Yeah,
So that's why I was wondering what did you experience, because and see,
yeah.
this is the thing, a few years ago I was at a UFO. It wasn't like we had like a group that would meet up, and after the group, a bunch of people are, because some of them were aware I did paranormal research for like many years. So I had a couple of them come up to me, and they're telling me, they're like, you know what? After we had this sighting, UFO in the
Oh yeah,
distance, they started experiencing things at home, and they were asking me, had I ever heard of that
yeah,
from a paranormal angle? And I was like,
right.
no, I haven't. And they were like, no, and everything started after we saw what they assumed was a UFO or extraterrestrial spaceship. They
Yeah,
like they were having a hard time like making the connection why
yeah,
one thing would produce the other.
right.
And now it's not that far fetched. That was a few years ago that I had that conversation after,
Yeah.
and it was more than one person. And one lady was describing something that was happening to her for years. It wasn't like a couple of months or a couple of weeks.
Oh yeah,
She was describing something that went on for years for her. So it's 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 weird that you would think, okay, what does that have to do with?
yeah. Well, I seen this stuff, but I didn't know what it was leading up to. But in August 2017, I actually had first contact with the ET that I had been seeing, and it was the weirdest. The way this thing went down was just the strangest thing I've ever. I'm sitting there asleep, these two ET grabbed me by the arms and they pull me.
Mm-hmm.
They pull my physical consciousness out of my sleeping body,
Okay.
and I slipped out of their grasp at first and fell back to sleep. And I almost woke up and I thought, man, that was a weird dream. I felt like two women had me by the arms and they were yanking on me for some reason.
Okay.
Never mind, that was just a weird dream. Go back to sleep. So I relaxed, went back to sleep, and all of a sudden, here they are again. These women got me. This time, they're pulling on me, and I look up and I can see her face, and she says, "Help us!" And so I'm struggling to get loose from whatever's holding me, and they literally pull my sleeping consciousness out of my physical body, and I'm like, wow, okay, man, I'm out. Thank God, thank
Mm-hmm.
thank you for helping me. My God, I was stuck back there, and the first thing they start doing is apologize. Hey, we're just really sorry for disturbing your rest. They said we needed to have a conversation, and And I'm going, no, I appreciate it, man. I don't know what had me, but I was really stuck back there. And she goes, now look, she goes, your sleeping body's there in bed. You're safe. You know, you're not going to be harmed. And I'm going, wait, what are they talking about? You know, I looked over there, and there's my
Oh,
bed. There's my bedroom. There's my somebody sleeping in my spot in the bed. I'm going, what the hell? And I wanted to go walk over and look at my face, but when I tried to walk, man, it's like I fell forward. My legs were
okay.
like my legs were submerged in the bed. It was like, and when it was like you have mass, you don't have a lot of mass. You can walk through walls, but you have to struggle through walls. It's not like you're smoke. You can just fly
Mm-hmm.
through it. It was like when you move through solid matter, it causes a
And
resistance.
were these women like
And
human-looking women or alien-looking women?
I thought they were somebody playing. I thought my wife was playing a joke on me at first. I thought because of the ET, I thought, yeah, my wife is playing a joke on me or some kind of shit. Because one of them was blue. She was tall and blue. She's about 6'6", and she
Okay.
had great, big, huge eyes. I mean, her eyes were as big as our eye sockets,
Okay.
and she had short black hair. She had on like an athletic looking suit, and the other one had great big hair, was shorter, was stockier, and uh, and she had a damn looked like a human forehead, human eyes, and then in her mouth and her chin turned into a lion's mouth. And she even had
Wow.
whiskers coming out of her top lip that were like trimmed off. And I
Hybrid.
thought, man, if this is a costume, it's a damn good one. It's
It's
like,
like, wow.
man, this is a damn good. Ever who these people girls are, they got some damn costumes. And they said, oh, she said we're here from a different world, and we're investigating your world, and we've seen you, and we need to have a conversation with you. And I'm thinking, your sleeping body's there. We're not going to harm you. You're going to be all right. And I'm like looking around. I'm trying to take all this in, and uh, and she said, look, you can move through solid matter here. And when I tried to walk and look at the body sleeping in my bed to make sure it was me, I fell forward. I put my hand on my sleeping body and I caught myself on my own leg, and then all of a sudden my hand went through my leg, like I broke the bone. It felt like I broke the bone, and I could feel the mattress underneath my leg, like my hand went up
Okay.
into the mattress through my leg, and I pulled my hand back up, and I was freaking out, going, "Oh my god!" And they walked me out of the bed. They said, "No, you're fine. Look, you can move to solid matter here." And they walked me out of the bed, and I'm going, all right, you can move to solid matter here. And this is a place where the people of your world and the people of our world are going to meet. And she said, now, okay, now put your hand on her face. She had me put the hand on the one TT's face. And she said, okay, now to push. And I started pushing and I could feel her hair. I could feel her skin. And my hand started going in her head. And I could feel like her brain matter. And it felt wet. And I,
Uh,
and I pulled my hand back out like it was gross, like my hand should have been
yeah.
wet, but my hand was dry. It felt wet,
Okay.
but it wasn't wet at all. And she goes, she said, I just want to show you that, you can move through solid matter here. And this is a place where people of your world and the people of our world are going to meet because we're safe from bacterial and viral harm and physical danger. And I'm going, oh, okay. I said, yeah. I said a gun wouldn't even work here. And they kind of looked at each other like, um, you know, can we tell him or not? you know, and they said,
Right.
well, we have weapons that work.
Right. Yeah. Like,
And I'm
yeah.
going, they act like they really weren't supposed to say anything about that. Like, hey, we have weapons that can work here.
Uh-huh.
And I'm going, oh, okay, you know. And then they said they give me kind of a brief history. They said we discovered your world in the late part of the 40s. They said your nuclear testing sent light and radiation off our planet, the Blue Lady's planet. And she said we'd been attacked before. We'd been in an interstellar war with some creatures, and it freaked us out. And we thought we were getting ready to be attacked again. And they investigated where it came from, and they found our planet and our world.
Okay.
And they come here investigate. Not really, they didn't come here to make friends. They come here seeing if we were a staging area for an interdimensional attack that they had encountered previously.
Okay.
And and so they come here very, concerned about exactly who we are and what this place is, and was it used for an interdimensional staging area for an attack. And so they come here with, to find out and
So,
apparently
but
you guys.
they're the same species, even though they didn't look exactly alike. They're the same type, I guess.
it seems to me like they have an interstellar community, and
Okay, okay.
it's very close to like I said, at one point I got to see the Blue Lady's world where she was from, and it's very close to a black hole. So there's a black hole or something that looks like a black hole to me, uh,
Uh-huh.
and it's almost like there's an interstellar community. Like maybe they rescue intelligent creatures before their planet dies or something. And
Okay.
that's why you got this huge conglomeration of different creatures and stuff that seem to be working together. And
Okay.
I guess they've been studying. They knew our language. They spoke English with their mouths. Now the cat lady, she had trouble speaking. Like it was like her mouth wasn't quite made to say certain words, and she was struggling. But she, like a person with a speech impediment, when she had a
Right.
hard time saying something, she would change the words to where she could say it. She spoke
Uh-huh.
intelligently with her mouth in English. And I've had people say, "Well, how they speak English?" And I'm like, they've been here since the latter part of the '40s. I speak English. I've been here since 1960. You know,
Right,
well,
right, right. So yeah, they're like
they speak English as good as I do. I mean, they spoke very proper English, appropriate English. They didn't use any slang terms or anything like
mm-hmm.
that. And when I described what they said, I used my words, not their words. I could never talk like they did, man. Everything was very proper
And what
and
did they want
precise.
from
You
you,
know,
Ronnie? What they because
they wanted to
here they're kind of like showing their hand by pulling you out.
Yeah, they said that they've been observing the people of our world. That our world, just them observing our world, has already affected their world. They said some of our clothing on our world has become popular on the Blue Lady's world,
Wow.
to the frustration of the man. She said they had ritualistic clothing, but they didn't have everyday clothing that they wear all the time like we do, and they fell in love with some of her stuff. She's wearing yoga pants. And
Okay.
she said yoga pants so soft, you know. It's like
That's so
she said,
interesting.
and the other one had blue jeans on and a white blouse, you know, and
Okay.
the cat lady had a blue jeans and a white blouse on, you know, and it's like some of your clothing has became popular in the world, much to the dismay of the men who are not so fond of it because before they can have intercourse, they have to wait for the woman to disrobe now. So
Right. So it's like, yeah, man. It's like
the women are digging our clothing, but the men not so much. It doesn't seem like anyway.
so do they what are their plans? I mean, obviously by now we're not a staging area, I guess then, right? Is that what it is? And
Uh, they never did get the I never did get the final verdict on that. But you think about the pyramids, maybe it was a staging area because the Blue Lady's world was attacked. One third of her world was destroyed with one shot.
wow.
And they used that as a demonstration that without provocation, without warning, to show the rest of the interstellar community, we will do this to everyone's world if you don't do what we said. And she likened them to our fallen angels. I guess somewhere they read our literature about the fallen angels, and they said they think these guys sound a lot like what we describe as the fallen angels. And
Wow.
there's, as far as they're concerned, they're still at war with them. They thought it didn't sound like and they were smart. I mean, they're interstellar travelers, but these guys were interdimensional. I mean, they could show up
Okay.
without warning. These guys were interstellar. They were intelligent, but they did not have the interdimensional technicality that the other ones had. And she said that we thought they would come and take some resources or whatever they wanted. And they said they realized fairly quickly that they'd rather die fighting these guys than live under them. And they're very
That bad,
intelligent.
huh?
Yeah, very bad. And she likened them to our fallen angels. And anyway, they thought they were immortal. They couldn't kill them because they were able to control the amount of mass. You know, they could control the mass, where a bullet would pass right through them and wouldn't hurt them. You know, so and they said they finally, they finally found a way to kill one. They shot his ship down. They killed him, and they said it's an intergalactic tourism spot now. And they're and
Here?
they're in their community, everybody from all the planets travels to
Okay.
see this creature they killed. And
Oh,
and
wow. Okay.
yeah,
So in other words, the
that's like their
but
Grand Canyon. Yeah, it's like, come on, man, let's
but
go
can you
look.
imagine that? Think about it. Once, what is it? What is it? If it can bleed, it can be killed, kind of thing.
Yeah,
So I
so
guess.
and they were excited, and they set up defensive measures, and I said, look, y'all don't need to be talking to me to be talking to somebody in the government, you know. And they said, yeah, we intend on talking to your government, and we're going to tell them that if their nuclear testing sets off our defensive countermeasures, it's probably going to be very bad for your world. And she said, but we're not willing to take them down. She said, so if your nuclear testing sets off our defensive countermeasures, it could be very bad for you. And she said, we are. That's a discussion we're going to have with your government. I'm going,
So
okay.
let me ask you
I,
something. Are these are
I'm not
these
my government.
are these uh, aliens the ones that are like, that are basically, they sound like they have a Death Star? Are they still here on Earth, or they just come and go? Do they visit on and off, or?
I think they just come and go. And anyway, I asked her. I said, "Is it?" And I remember what Stanton Friedman had said, told me to ask.
Mm-hmm.
Is, hey, can you show me how you got here? Yeah. Can you show me how you got here? And they act like, man, we're kind of busy. You know,
Right.
we got some stuff we need to do. And they said, yeah. They said, look, we really need to get a genetic sample from you. And I'm going, oh crap. I said, she goes, but yeah, we could show you how we got here. She said, you could see my world. And I said, really? I said, okay. And she said, all you have to do is walk through this wall. And I'm going, just walk through my wall in my bedroom. And yeah, just walk through it. And I go over there where there's a glass picture on the wall, and it's hit me right in the face. And I'm going, man, this thing's going to cut. It's going to cut my face. I'm going very slow. And she's going, you can move to solid matter. Just go, you know. And now they're
Uh-huh.
frustrated. They're like, go on, just go. You'll be all right. It's not going to hurt you. And
Yeah, but
as I was moving through the wall, I could feel the
yeah,
sheetrock
so
going
that's the
through my.
thing, that it's difficult to like think of that you can go through walls.
I could
It's
feel the glass going through my brain and my eyes and my face, and the sheetrock of the wall was going through my stomach, and it didn't hurt, but it felt very weird. It's just uncomfortable feeling, and and I think there might have been some miscommunication because I think they wanted me to look through the wall, but I took it that they wanted me to walk through the wall, and
okay.
I took one more big step to get out of this thing because it felt weird, and I stepped right into outer space. I mean, I was floating in zero gravity.
Okay.
I was in some. I don't even know if is an interdimensional world or if this is. I don't know where this place was at, but I was floating in zero gravity. I didn't need oxygen to breathe. I wasn't cold, but I was in zero gravity, and I was doing this slow forward head flip, like because I had walked out. I was moving, so I just kept
Uh-huh.
moving, and I'm going, oh man, and I'm looking, and there's a planet right off to my left, and it had like three major continents. It had really thin oceans. I mean, they weren't vast, wide oceans. They were very thin oceans in between the continents. It was like three major continents I could see. The planet didn't look all that big, and and the oceans were very thin. I could see the north and south poles of it.
So what, did you step through a portal of some type then?
Well, I was And I looked, I could see the black hole in the sky, and their sky, you could see this black hole with all the worlds being trapped. Just hundreds of thousands of stars being sucked into this thing in clear view of their sky. And I could
Okay.
see that planet over there, and I could see a moon. There's this rocky moon went floating between me and the planet. And it almost looked like Phobos, that moon that's around Mars. It looked like a solid, ugly piece of rock that just went
Mm-hmm.
floating between me and the planet. And I started doing this head flip. Now I'm going upside down. I'm going, oh my God. But I was thinking, okay, I'm coming back to whatever I just walked out of. So now I'm going to be able to look at what I just came out of. So when I was coming back up, I was looking. This is a black box floating in outer space. There ain't any lights. I didn't see any lights on it. I didn't see anything indicate that it had any kind of technology built onto it. Just a solid crystalline black box floating in outer space. Somehow inside that thing was my bedroom, and outside that thing was wherever the hell this is at.
That is, what a mind bender.
And I'm out
That
here in zero gravity, and I'm like, oh my God, man, I don't know if I shouldn't have stepped out of that thing, or I don't know how the hell I'm going to get back in there
right.
because
And that's about right when I'd be like, okay, how do I get back in there?
I'm like, oh shit. Well, I'm taking everything in. I'm going, okay, this is all important. Take in everything. So I was trying to take in everything I could see. Lots of planets around there. I thought what I thought might have been the sun was, I think it was a, I was actually looking at the dark side of the planet, but there were so many lights in the sky from this
Okay.
black hole that it's illuminated at night. I mean, there's illumination at night. So I'm thinking the the what I thought was the sun is another moon, and it's catching the light from something I can't see.
Okay.
the planet's blocking whatever it's catching light from. So I'm looking at the dark side of the planet, but it's not by no means dark. I mean, there was a large desert area, and she said that 1/3 of her planet had got destroyed, and I was like, yeah, you could see that there was a huge desert area, and then
Okay.
there was a like a jungle area that was closer to the ocean. I only seen like one large inland lake, frosty north-south poles, not a whole lot of streams. Looked like one pretty good stream going to the lake, and then one stream coming from the lake to the ocean. And I only seen one major lake in the whole continent, but you could see that it was green and forested. And the other continents they had green forestation on them, but it didn't look like jungle like this one area looked like jungle. The other area looked like maybe high mountains that dropped off steeply into the ocean.
Okay.
And I'm
And do
taking
you
all that
think
in,
that
man.
do you think that, I mean, I know you said I went through the wall maybe more than what they expected me to, but did you think also at the same time that they did want you to see this somehow?
I think if I would have just looked through the wall, like from the
Okay.
waist, I probably could have seen everything without doing all
Okay. So,
this whole head. So I think there was some miscommunication there. I think she just wanted me to look through the wall. I didn't know what. I didn't know
so
what she was talking about.
how did you get back? I mean, I'm
I didn't
thinking,
know. I didn't know how I was going to get back. All I know is was somebody grabbed me on the
okay.
shoulder, and
All right.
I'm helping them. I'm hanging on for dear life because I'm whipping around like this, and I know if I get whipped loose, I'm going. My God,
Somewhere.
yeah, I'm probably going to be floating in outer space for God knows how long. But the strange thing was, well, I guess I always thought when your consciousness leaves your body, you're dead. You know,
Sure.
my body's
Yeah.
still alive. I'm conscious. I don't need air to breathe. I didn't feel hot or cold. I didn't feel hungry, and I was able to think and I was able to converse. And so I was like, that's a pretty cool place. Maybe this is where dead people go. I don't know.
Right, right, right.
You
Your
know.
self-awareness is there.
And I told my wife, if I ever get in a coma, man, put a note before you unplug my body. Put a note over me telling me when you're going to do it. That way, I can make a decision if I want to come back. And you know, because it
Why
may just
not?
be people leave their body and they're going, hell, why the hell would I want to go back to that?
Exactly. Well, you hear that from some of these near-death experience people
Yeah.
that when they come back, it's like
My
they
body's sick. Yeah, I'm in there and I'm
yeah,
sick and I'm hurting and here I'm not hurting
exactly.
and I'm not hungry and I can talk and hear better and I'm healthier and I can go. And I mean, and it's weird because you can move through solid matter. You think about it, they could move amongst us in the daylight. They could climb into your car with you and take a ride with you.
Okay.
And yeah, and you would never see them. I mean, they
Let me ask you something. Did you have contact with these women again, or was that a one-time thing?
yeah, I had a when they pulled me back into the room, they wanted a genetic sample, and I asked them how to go about. I said, yeah, I don't know. I said I'll be, and I told them I felt it away this conversation, man. I was like I'm representing every man, woman, and child on the planet Earth, and this is I don't know if I'm the first person to ever contact ET. But you don't want to blow it. This is important. I just yeah. I said, look, man, whatever you want, man. I'll take one for the team. You know,
It's like one in a lifetime experience kind of
yeah.
thing.
We want to be friendly with these guys. We want to impress them. We want to keep contact with them, and I don't want to piss them off. And I'm like, yeah, tell me what you want. I'll be willing to do whatever you want. And I said I'm willing to help in any way I can. And I said that because it was the right thing to say, and it was the right time to say it and uh, and that's what anybody in our situation probably should say. But I
Well,
didn't know. I didn't know exactly what I was getting myself into. I didn't know what I was signing up for. But anyway, she said, "Well, the cat lady is our geneticist, and she said if you could just have sex with her, she could get everything she needed from you."
I was gonna say, well,
I
this could
said,
either go really bad, like what is it, the anal probe, or
"Did you?" Yeah. And she said, I was like, "Did you say sex?" And she goes, "Look, you don't have to." She said, "By no means you don't have to." And I'm going. Well, I was like, it just seems, odd. It was like an odd request. It just shocked me. And she goes, "Now look," she said, "You don't understand." She said on her world, she said they have a sexual intercourse like the people of your world smile and shake hands with strangers. You know,
right, the
and she said, yeah, to them it's just minor. It's nothing. yeah, to them it's like nothing. And I'm going, oh, okay. And I said, yeah, yeah, whatever you need me to do, you know. And she said, all right, well, I'll step out and give you some privacy. So this lady, she goes to taking off her clothes, and and she jumps up on the bed, and she says, I've been watching you and your wife, you know. And she, I'm like, going,
And
oh
you're
my
like, oh,
God,
thanks. I
they've
really needed to hear that.
they've seen everything. There's no secrets, man. They've seen
Right. It's
everything. I'm going, oh my God, yeah. Just when you think you're private, you're in the privacy of your
right. That's
bedroom.
that.
They got
Talk about getting a little bit paranoid.
yeah. So she jumps on the bed and she says, I want you to make me feel like she feels or something like that. And she's got, when she took off those blue jeans that she was wearing, she had this long, like lion tail. And this tail is like up in the air and it's swinging back and forth. And I'm going, this has got to
Ronnie.
be the weirdest thing any human
I
has
bet.
ever seen. And I'm like, I'm supposed to have sex. I don't even know if we're even sexually compatible, you know?
Right.
And I don't know how I'm going to pull this off. And anyway, guess who comes walking through the room? Here comes my wife, comes walking through the bedroom on her way to the bathroom. I mean, I see her as plain as daylight. I can see the clothes she's wearing. She goes into the bathroom, you know, and I'm going, and this is the second time she actually went walking through the room. And they had already told me, said she can't hear or see us. And I mean, I seen everything she was wearing. I heard her go in the bathroom and turn the light on. I heard her flush the toilet and then come right back out and walk right by us. And at one point, she paused and looked at me,
Uh huh.
and the cat lady freaked out. She told the blue lady, she said, "I think is she can she see us?" And the blue lady said, "No, no." She says she's looking at him, and she was looking at my body sleeping in the bed. And then she went ahead and left the room. And I asked her later. I said, man, you came walking in the room. You stopped. You paused. And I said, then you looked over at me sleeping in the bed. And I said, me and two alien women were standing here watching you do all that, and you couldn't see us. And I said, why did you do that? And she said, well, you know, you got sleep apnea. And she said, I worry about you stopping breathing. She said, so
Okay.
I'll stop, I'll pause. I see your chest rising up and down. I know you're okay. I go about my business. I never knew she did that.
There
But I
you
actually
go.
got to see it in person, and it was kind of weird. And when I asked her, she said, yeah, I'm just making sure you're breathing because you have sleep apnea. You know, it's like,
Right.
wow.
Yeah. But you're thinking.
Yeah.
Let me ask. Do you think that her? Well, like let me. By the way, that was a good question. Are we compatible? Do you think also they were trying to do some type of hybrid kind of deal?
Oh, they are. Trust me. I found that the hard way, and my second encounter was also a sexual encounter, and when they got the genetic sample from me, and she said, you know, save some for the clone project or whatever, and I'm going, oh crap, they're gonna clone me or whatever, you know. And I told
Right.
him, I said, look, there's way better genetic samples on this planet than me. I said, trust me, my only thing my family's got to donate to the genetic pot is we got bad teeth, bad toes, and a propensity for violence, you know. It's not the exactly traits you want, you know. I said, there's a whole lot better samples here than me. And she goes, oh, she said, we need samples from the masses. And she said, we want to make open contact with the people of your world. And we want to ask you if you think they'd be willing to donate large quantities of genetic materials if we make open friendly contact. I'm going, yeah, I believe they would. I said, if you have open friendly contact with our people of our world, they'd be glad to give you all the genetic samples you need.
In other words, they're trying to get like a like a sampling of a wide.
Yeah, wide sampling of the whole species of us apparently, and from putting two and two together, I kind of think they're working on some interdimensional travelism to where they can't make a clone of me and keep it on another world because they did make a clone of me and it is on another world and it went and 20 they actually put me in it 2020 February 2020 they put me in it. They took my consciousness and put me in
Like
it
an
and it
avatar kind
cloned.
of thing?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
It felt like my body, but then I found out that it wouldn't because they had augmented a 17-inch penis on this thing.
Oh my God.
And when I saw that, I realized it ain't me. You know, I was like, okay, this is not me.
So,
Yeah, and it was better interact with the female cat ladies because apparently they're having some kind of reproductive issues. And
well, I've heard of
they had
that part of their thing with the hybridization is
yeah.
because because of they want our genetic material because theirs is kind of kaput, like not good anymore.
Yeah, but they had a young female cat lady volunteer. She looked just like the other one, but the other one had tan hair. This one had white hair, but they had the same black stripes all down their body, all the way down to their feet and all the way up their backs and stuff. And and her whiskers, she didn't have her whiskers trimmed. They were long. They hung way down,
Let me ask you,
And
do these do the clone? I guess this is. Do the clones do they have any consciousness? Because here you are, they're inserting your consciousness into this clone body.
yeah, so and it makes me wonder. There's a lot of questions I don't know about the clones. Now it's like, what if I die here? If I die here, does my
Right.
consciousness automatically go into the clone because it is like version 2 of me?
Yeah, that's a good question.
And I've heard that from other people who claim to be like alien clones, that yeah, they do that so that they will have eternal life. Like, you can die if I die, but as long as you got a clone, your body can go into it, and that's why you want to have a clone. It's that
Oh,
you
but
don't
well,
die.
and then now this is the thing though. I guess my question is, like the Frankenstein monster, does that clone body have already a consciousness when they produce it? How's that?
I don't know.
That's the thing that you're thinking.
You
Okay,
know?
you're going to be taking up if you go, let's say your self awareness, your consciousness goes to that body. Is there
Yeah,
somebody in there already?
yeah. Like, did he put his consciousness in me? While I was at home
Yeah, like
sleeping
that
there.
vice. Yeah,
Like it swapped. Did we
that's
swap,
interesting.
or is he in there with me, or what? So I don't know.
That's interesting. Like that. That's like okay, because because you're thinking if they're
But it,
producing, if they're cloning it and they're growing to a
yeah,
basically an adult
yeah. But
for
but
whatever
here,
purpose, you're thinking okay, it's got to have some type of
yeah.
consciousness.
But the reason they put me on the in 20 February 2020, they put me on the alien planet. They wanted It was a function test for the alien penile that they had augmented onto this clone body. And it had never been tested yet. They had a female volunteer. They decided that they would transfer me into the body for whatever reason, and basically I had to go into like a surgical tent and then I had to walk through this. There was a pressure like wall. When you walk through it, you break the plane, you can feel the air rushing by your face, and they told me, don't stand in it, we're losing our surgical environment, move through it quickly. And I walk into it, I'm in a surgical environment. There's like an operating table there on the deal. There's like an alien doctor and like 3 alien nurses, and they got PPE on. They've got like and almost like a shrink wrap suit on them, man. They just like sucked up to their face, but you could tell the guy was an alien because of the size of his eyes.
Okay.
And this alien doctor, and he wasn't all that kind of guy either, man. I mean, so he bark orders at you, like, tell you what to do, when to do it, and this cat lady climbs in there up on this table and stuff, and she's strapping herself in with straps. And
Okay.
they said it's for your protection, make sure you don't get injured, And I'm like, okay, it probably, yeah. When when they actually reproduce in the wild, probably it's pretty
Right.
weird.
That's what I'm
Yeah,
thinking is like, yeah, to you, be yeah. It's like,
yeah. So
you know what? When they're saying stuff like for your own protection, be like, what?
yeah, yeah. Who knows what their mating ritual is like? But it looks
Right.
like it
Yeah.
might be. It seemed like it might be pretty intense. And so they had she strapped her own self in, so I knew she wasn't a prisoner because she did the straps on her feet and the nurses did the straps on her wrist. And basically, I had to have sex with her right there in a surgery setting, right in front of the doctors and nurses, and the doctors barking instructions at me and everything, the whole
So do
time.
you think? And I guess this is my question. Obviously, that you're genetically compatible because that's the thing. That's the thing with species that some of them they're just not
Yeah,
compatible, or if they produce what what they call a mule, which is a sterile offspring.
yeah.
Did they ever tell you if that experiment was successful or what?
I don't know, but I know it's after I walked out of the tent. They they come out with a bag that had a female reproductive organ in it, and they wanted me to slide it over. And to make the penis erect, she would spray this spray under my nose, and this thing would just stand up like a flagpole. It's like 17 inches long and not very big around, and just very
Like a
odd.
pheromone kind of thing?
Very odd. Yeah, very odd looking thing, and it would just stand up like a flagpole. And they wanted me to thread female reproductive organ over it to make sure it would reach the hole. There's a
Right,
hole
right. I
there.
understand.
Yeah,
Right. So
yeah. So and
that I guess, well, depending on
yeah,
that,
so I
yeah, that
had
reproduction could take place, whatever.
yeah, so I had to do that, which man, right in front of with people watching and everything too. So man, it was this.
And Ronnie's thinking, man, I'm doing
I
off-planet
was like,
porn.
what in the
Choose.
hell did I get myself into? You know. But I got to see an alien planet. I got to walk around on the surface of it. I mean, it had green, grassy, rolling hills. There was like 50 white houses, like 50 styles houses, and there was white picket fences around all of them. There was large, nice streets down through this town, and not one car. I didn't see one car anywhere, and didn't see around any of the houses. Didn't see any personal items. And so I don't know if people had lived there or if people were planning on living there, but these houses they were definitely like 50 styles houses. They had like porches that were built under the primary portion of the roof. You know, we don't do that anymore. We build like a deck around the exterior house, and we utilize the whole roof space for the house itself. But
Right,
it,
exactly. So this
yeah,
was like, in other words, you're thinking what they were copying architecture from way back then, or what?
yeah, and God only knows what this place is, but I mean, and I met another contactee there from South Africa, and
Oh, wow.
and and they said, you know, he said meet Ronny Dawson. He said I'm familiar with Ronny Dawson, and that cat lady said no. She said the Ronny Dawson from back there, and he goes, oh. Oh, then he got excited, you know, like he knew Ronny Dawson clone, but he had never met
The
me.
original
Yeah,
Ronnie.
the original Ronnie. He said, "Oh my God, man!" He said, "First trip." He said, "First trip." And I said, "Yeah." I said, "Yeah, it is." And I
And
said,
was he there for the same purpose?
"Yeah." He said he was going to be the second one to. They said they were looking for alien contactees over the age of 55 that were having erectile dysfunction problems that were willing to have the procedure.
So
That's
here,
why.
and let me ask you, do you think that that's really interesting that they never followed up and they told you was it successful or not? You know, it'd be like after all
Well,
of this trouble.
yeah, they got every time I meet these guys, people say, "Well, ask them this," and I'm like, "Oh man, that there really ain't a whole lot of time sitting around for conversation, man. These guys have an agenda, and it's like, boom, boom, boom. The doctor's waiting on
Right.
you in the tent. We have a volunteer, you know, and you have an alien penis, and we need to go see if it functions." And
Right, like real scientific, like there's
it's like, oh, okay, you know. And they said, well, you said you were willing to help us any way you could, you know. And they said we took that as well, I said it and I meant it, you know. And I'm like, tell me what you need. And they said, okay,
so what's
we're
it?
waiting.
Then it's when it's over, it's like they what
They're
send you back home and
they're waiting on
thanks.
us. Yeah, they're waiting on us. Come with us. And I mean it's on that quick, you know. It's like and
So let me ask you, what did they ever come back again? Like, is it this was like a one shot deal, or did they ever
uh,
say, hey, we're gonna?
well, I came back out and like I said, uh, and they wanted me to slide this reproductive organ up and down this thing, hoping that it would ejaculate again, so they could catch it in the bag that they were going to put it
Right.
in. And I thought, this is really weird. And I'm going, I don't feel anything. I don't feel like anything is happening, you know. And so they pull it off. They put it in the bag. Then all of a sudden, uh, semen just starts dripping out of this thing, and it drips on my shoe. And the other contactee kind of chuckles because he thinks it's funny. And these guys are catching the drippings in this sack, and I'm sitting there embarrassed to beat all hell, you know, because
So let me ask you something. I guess what they're having problems then with the male of that species. Was that it? That
it's hard to say really because that young female, she seemed like a very young, like birthing age female, and it was almost like they did a vasectomy on. I mean, not a vasectomy on her, but I don't know. They pulled her whole, you know, they what do you call that? Well,
a hysterectomy?
yeah, like they did a hysterectomy. They took her whole female reproductive organ out. She was young, and it was like, why would they do that? And so there's got to be something
That's
going
interesting.
on. Yeah, so they're having some issues. So they're doing that. I mean, they're working on other stuff. And I think the reason there's any genetic samples from us, they're trying to make genetic clones where they can take our consciousness and put us in it. And instead of making they can't make a clone for 8 billion of us. So they want to make a clone that they can put my consciousness in, your consciousness in. Instead of making 8 billion clones, they can make one out of the large genetic sampling that they can put a consciousness from our world into.
Or if you think about it, maybe, like you said, maybe their genetic material, genetically something happened that it's
Yeah.
not, and they're like, okay, if we could come up with a hybrid, maybe we could.
Well, the reproduction thing seems to be a cat people thing. I don't think it really affecting the blue ladies people.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's more the cat people's thing. So they're trying to help the cat people at the same time. They're working on genetic cloning of us and transferring consciousnesses and uh, and talking about open contact so that they can get the genetic material they need to maybe make a genetic clone that we can all transport back and forth into. And they said the people of their world demand to meet the people of our world. They want to meet us. And they said their science serves the wants and desires of their people, unlike our science, which it sounded like they were kind of giving me an answer. Serves desire for
Uh-huh.
money and profit.
Now I was gonna say, well, you know what? You could also look at it as in, if you're stuck in a planet, let's say, this is just me,
Well,
and you want to make it more hospitable to your life
yeah,
form. Maybe if you hybridize, Earth becomes more hospitable, depending. I don't know
yeah,
where they come
yeah.
from.
Yeah, the geneticist told me. She said, I should, said tell the people of the world, and we have the double helix uh, genetic model. She said they use a triple helix,
Okay.
and they said tell somebody that understands this they should go to your world is very close to being able to cure a lot of your diseases and stuff. She said we could give you the technology. She said, but you were the overpopulation in 5 years would be more suffering. We would cause more suffering by giving you the cure to your
Right, as far
disease
as
than
the attrition from people
yeah.
dying
So
from.
yes, we would be overpopulated terribly, and so they just can't do it. But they said we're very close to getting there ourselves. And
Oh,
she said,
yeah.
be sure to tell somebody they should consider using a triple helix. Uh,
Did they
but
ever say if
also,
they're gonna ever do like a big reveal? If they
yeah,
were gonna say, look,
and the blue lady also told me a message, and she didn't tell me to just keep it a secret, not to tell anyone. She said, tell the people of your world this, and this is what she told me to tell everyone, was that when it comes time for the people of our world to meet the people of their world, uh, that there be no physical contact without first making a request and getting a formal response. In other words, they don't want you grabbing them, hugging them, shaking their hand without asking. And the blue lady, she seemed very. At one point, I got very close to her face because I just wanted to look in her eye. Uh,
mm-hmm.
I wanted to see the color. I seen her eyes were very big, but I couldn't really get a good look at her eyeball. So I got really close to her, and it kind of freaked her out. And after that, she told me that. She said, tell the people of your world, no physical contact, without a request and permission given. So I was
Well,
like, all right, yeah, yeah.
yeah, I can understand.
And
That's
because it
like,
kind of freaked her out, like, oh, like, what are you doing? And the cat lady, she was all it. Hey, trust me, she's all about contact. But the blue lady, she's like, she didn't want no contact.
right, 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 right. It's almost like
Uh,
different cultures. You know how they
yeah,
have these
and they're
these
from different.
rules, like,
Yeah, they're from different worlds, and she said from her world, and she didn't say from my planet or her continent. She said from her world, they have sex like the people of your world, smile and shake hands. You know,
right. And then
and
this
I'm
other
like,
one is talking about body space.
so that told me, yeah, okay, there's several different worlds, and plus I've seen all these different creatures, and you could tell they're probably from different worlds too. So,
That is
and the
so
and the
interesting.
fact that our planet is that close to a black hole, it almost makes me think that they're rescuing intelligent species before their planet gets destroyed.
Right, they're trying to get them off before it gets
Right. So yeah,
pulled into the
somebody's
black hole.
yeah, before your planet gets torn apart, if you're intelligent and you're worthy of saving, maybe they save you. So because it seemed like those little guys that raided my house, they were subservient to something else, and the blue
Mm-hmm.
lady and the cat lady, they're definitely. I don't know if they're subservient to something else or not, but they seem like they could have, servants that would serve them.
Right, right. They're not at the bottom of the totem pole, in other
Right,
words.
right, yeah.
That is so interesting. Ronnie, I want to thank you. This conversation is so interesting. I mean, that's like I'm gonna of everything that first encounter that you told me that you had, where you think your cat's dug a hole through the wood and you stuck your arm in there, I'd be like, oh, there's no way I'd do that. There's just no way I'd do that. And and at the same time, it almost sounds like you're always thinking that this thing was just all I'm gonna the most I'm gonna get out of this is just seeing some lights far away.
Yeah, yeah.
And this turned into. So, do you think that they're still what's the monitoring you or what?
Uh, I think the ET bad guys have showed back up on the scene, and
Uh huh.
I was threatened 2 years ago to shut the hell up, and
Really?
yeah, and the doctor came and see me again, and the bad guy basically told me I'd be sick. I would get sick and when I was 63 and die when I was 65, and I would cause him no grief over anything I've said or done. So they basically said it'd be to my advantage to shut up. And the doctor came and see me, and he said, look, he said, yeah, you're gonna get sick. And he said we can help you. He said you're gonna have I'm gonna have some kind of uh, an embolism in my lung, and I guess a blood clot's gonna travel into my heart. And they said they could stop it, and and I was like, well, if they will, he didn't say if they would stop it or they could stop it, And I'm like,
Right, right, right.
so I'm like, okay, if I live past 65 years, okay, I'm 60, I fixed to turn 63 in November, so I'm probably gonna get sick quick, according to the bad guy, and be dead by 65. So
Oh,
if I'm 66 years old and still alive, I probably should go have a CAT scan done and see if we got some alien technology in me.
possibly. Who
Right.
knows?
So that'd be the
Who
proof of
knows?
that could be the proof of the story that I'm looking for.
Sure, of
The
course. An
undeniable
implant,
truth.
a real good implant.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, Ronnie, thank you so much. Let me ask you, are you working on anything? I'm going to put the link to your YouTube channel or wherever you want, but are you working on anything as far as
I mean,
videos or a
well,
book or anything?
now I've got the one book. It's a Ronny Dawson UFO story. It's on Barnes and Noble and Amazon. And like I said, I was a feature speaker at the 2021 UFO MegaCon. I was hoping I'd get some more speaker invitations to conferences and stuff, but I don't know, man. With all the David Grush stuff going on,
Well,
uh,
you know what? They're I think a lot of the cons are coming back.
yeah,
People are, it's which is great.
yeah,
A
they're
lot of
wanting to
the
talk
stuff
to
is.
they want to talk to researchers and military people. They're
I don't understand that.
the contactees aren't getting a lot of
I don't understand that. To me, that doesn't make sense. Why they wouldn't of all the
yeah,
people that you would want to talk to, you would think
yeah,
is like, speak to the contactee, the regular person.
yeah.
Yeah.
Even Travis Walton ain't getting that many shows anymore. So I don't know. It's like they want to talk to researchers and TV
Let me
people.
tell you something. I have my own theory on that, and it's like, man, all of a sudden you guys have spent all these years, all these decades, basically making ufologists look like they're kooks, or
Yeah,
like, and then all of a sudden they're all abductees or contactees, and they're going in, testifying in
I know.
Congress, and it's like, okay, what's up with this? That's weird.
Um,
And
yeah,
and
for
they've
the
got so many people, hundreds or thousands of
I'm at
people.
I'm at these UFO conferences listening to these researchers talk about this and amazing man of that, and I'm like, mm, I've had my alien penis in a.
Right, like yeah, I've had the experience that this is
you're
not like
boring. You're boring me to tears here.
right, exactly.
I'm like, oh, all right. It's
But you know what? Let's see what let's see what the let's see what happens, you know, with this. But yeah, I call me suspicious why they're all of a sudden interested in just being like you said, like
yeah. This is one.
being at the forefront.
I got one of the craziest stories out there, and I can guarantee you it's true. It's not made up, and I mean, I'm not creative to make something like that up. Man, I drive a
Well, no,
truck for a
this
living.
is sure.
And it's like, at one point I made a decision, like, man, I said, it would be selfish to keep it to myself. And
Mhm.
I need to man up to, don't worry about the embarrassment or whatever. But, I told myself, I'm going to tell, no matter what the hell happens, as bad as it gets or as weird as it gets, I'm going to tell people about it because they got a right. If I representing them to ET, they got a right to know.
Right. If they hear it, if they want to accept it or not, that's what's up to them.
That's fine, but they got a right to hear it.
Sure.
You've
I
heard it.
agree. I
Yeah.
agree. And you did the right thing. Ronnie, again, thank you so much. And I want to wish you the best of luck. And I got to bring you back because we could talk a lot more about this and see what happens, in maybe if they pay you another visit. Now that you told me that thing that they told you like that when you're 63 and then this is going to happen and it's like, geez.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Marlene's good
So
fun.
I know everything's going to be okay. I have a feeling you'll be okay. So till next time, take care, Ronnie.
All right, thank you.
Bye bye. I mean, tell you something, that's just, it's like, man, why would one of these people do that? One of these people listen to me. One of these extraterrestrials, like, hey, this is you're gonna like basically like this is gonna happen to you and that's gonna happen to you, and the other one saying, well, we would or could. It's like, uh, hopefully they were just playing with his head. Just like we're gonna give you a little bit of grief, like what he was saying for having such a big mouth and talking about everything that you've seen. We're gonna, you know. But let me tell you, that thing about like that my cat, how did my cat get down there? And when I look and it looks like there's another pair of eyes looking at me. See, that's right there. That's where Marlene be like, what? What? So, and you know what? I read a story. There was a guy that he had gone out to Colorado somewhere, some area where they had a lot of these, alien, like UFO, um, people sighting, the lights, the whole 9 yards. Some area that was wide open. Maybe a couple little towns nearby, but mostly open space, open roads. And he went with his uncle. And one of the things that he talked about was that he had sounds similar to what he's talking about, one of those laser things with a light, and that they had even gotten some really like high-end binoculars and everything just to and cameras. But the thing was to see that, and the guy described exactly like what he said. They kept seeing the some type of lights or UFOs, but always like far away. And then they decide to do the laser thing, and all of a sudden this thing like came up like right up on them, almost, and they wigged out. And then one of the times they thought they had lost it, and then he says that they had pulled over somewhere, and he says that he's looking and he doesn't see it, but I think it wasn't when he says that, when he puts on, I can't remember if it was with the binoculars or a camera. He sees it, but if you looked with your naked eye, you wouldn't see the ship. In other words, it was cloaking itself. And he says that, the guy goes on to say that they had gone around to these little towns and spoken to some people, and they were saying, oh yeah, we see those weird lights out there all the time. So no, let me tell you something though. It's like the thing with the laser and everything. It's like you're betting that they're going to be friendly. How's that? Is that the circumstances that you want to find out if they're friendly or not? Stuff like that is very, um, I don't know. And also that thing that he was saying, like I could move. You hear a lot of people what they call sleep paralysis, uh, whether it's extraterrestrial visitation or even the paranormal world, where people have that exact experience, like what he was describing, where they're aware, they're awake, they're conscious. It's not like but their bodies are totally paralyzed, and it takes a lot of effort to move them, and things like that is food for thought. Again, when um, he spoke about having all these weird things happening in his house, and again, this is like that hitchhiker effect that you hear about, the people that have been on the Skinwalker Ranch, whether they were involved directly with the research or not, just because, in other words, that just because they were on those grounds somehow or other, they brought something back home with them. And let me tell you something, from what I've read, I mean, some of the phenomena that they experienced at their homes was not pleasant. It wasn't like, oh, I heard something. Yeah, it was like, and some of them I've seen like really pretty. What's the word I'm looking for? Horrible kind of like creatures. They've actually seen, not everybody, but I've heard that a couple of people have like had really bad, and some have not gone back because it's like, in other words, everything's happened and after being over there. So it's like, okay, that's the source of this. Take it for what it's worth. So very interesting, huh? Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed the show. I love speaking to Ronnie. Okay, God, let me tell you, wow. And don't forget to sign up for Substack, MiamiGhostChronicles.com or mppellicer.com. Again, on my Substack newsletter, I have information about shows, old shows, podcasts. And if you go to any of these sites, remember, you can listen to all the podcast versions of all the shows, either on your browser or if you download the MP3 file without commercial interruptions because you're downloading them directly from me. And like everything, I offer all the stuff I have for free. All right. Don't charge anything for whether it's Stories of the Supernatural, Nightshade Diary, uh, uh, Supernatural Story Time, you know, because honestly, I think that, and I've said this before, with all the crazy stuff that we have going on in our world, we need a little bit of escapism here and there, just to listen to stuff that's, hey, something different, something like what, something like, hey, I was made to give genetic material in a very unusual way. um, hello. Yeah, whatever. I mean, whatever. Uh, I think it's a good way to help us move forward every day, coping. And like I said, you can either believe it, disbelieve it, or go, what? So, but again, come back. I have so many good guests lined up. And like you could tell, even though I already got my Halloween t-shirt on. So even though it's still a little bit off, I'm I'm getting ready. So, till next time, thank you, and you are all wonderful.